Good morning, North Penn High School. I am Maddie Payton and welcome to North Penn Television's full live coverage of the 2016 North Penn High School Simulated Convention of the Millennial Party. Over the next 2 days, student delegates from all U.S. states and territories will debate the platform of this newly formed Millennial Party and select a candidate for the presidential nominee of the party. Since 1976, North Penn High School has been holding simulated conventions in the year of presidential elections, alternating between Democratic and Republican conventions. This year, students decided to create their own party that will best reflect a platform that represents their stance on the major issues facing the United States in 2016. This is how coverage will work today. We have North Penn television correspondents here in the studio and on the convention floor. Maddie Heilvile will be conducting interviews throughout the day here in the studio. Maddie, what are you looking forward to this morning?
Thanks, Maddie. I'm looking forward to see how the caucuses either have similar or different views, and at the end of the day, if the millennials come out with one unified opinion. It should be an exciting day. Now back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Maddie. It looks like we have an exciting day. Eric Bideman is standing by for the start of the convention to provide context and commentary from the floor. Eric, tell us about the energy you're seeing today.
Thanks, Maddie. Down here on the floor right now, there's a buzz going on. Everyone seems to be waiting with bated breath, and all of our candidates are up and mingling and acting very presidentially, and we expect that to continue throughout the day, and everyone's ready and geared to go. So I'll send it back to you, and I'll be checking in throughout the day.
Looks like our energy is already high this morning. What is our schedule this morning for the opening of the convention?
We are going to start off, and we are going to go over the officials and election information. We are going to cover the explanation and the history and go through that with all the students. We're going to go through the parliamentary procedure. We're going to go through who all the candidates are and their bios and get to meet them a little bit. And then for the majority of the day, we're going to go through the platform planks, which will be dominated by 3 specific sections: economic policy, social policy, and foreign policy. I expect the social policy issues to take the most of the time, and I think they're going to be the most hotly contested debates of the day.
Okay. Looks like we have some great topics to look forward to today. So can you tell me a little bit about some of the different candidates today and what their views are?
Well, we have 3 specific Democratic candidates. We have Hillary Clinton. She is a Democrat. However, her views tend to be a little bit more centered. She is a little bit more not as liberal as some of the other candidates. Martin Joseph O'Malley would be much more of the left-wing candidate, and Bernie Sanders would be the farthest to the left of the 3 Democrats. The Republicans today offer Jeb Bush, who is a high right-winger from Texas, Ben Carson, who is all right, sounds like we're ready to go, so I'm going to send it back to the desk.
Ramp it up, folks. It's your day to go out. We are going to start with the formalities. We are simulating a political party convention. The convention starts with those patriotic things. The JROTC is going to present the colors. We're going to do the national anthem and the pledge. Then we're going to hear from the mayor of Towmenson. You want her singing? All right, you're going to start.
I go now. Okay.
Come to the rise, please.
Can everybody stand, please? Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the
getting to you around a little after 8:30. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of Towmenson.
You can do better than that, come on. Good morning, North Penn. Okay, one more time, would you please stand and join me for the pledge to our nation's flag?
There's a lot of flags. Just pick a flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Okay, good morning.
Morning.
We'll try one more time. Third time's a charm. Good morning, North Penn. There we go. Okay, as the mayor of Towmenson, I would like to welcome all of you, all of our students, esteemed guests, members of the media. Thank you for joining us today for this mock convention. First, I'd like to share a story with you that Mr. Fry, not Mr. Fluck, but Mr. Fry shared with me last week. And he asked me if I'd ever seen this convention before, and of course I have not. I've been here for about 6 months, and he told me that this is the single best thing and the best representation of North Penn and North Penn students that we do here. We do it once every 4 years, and he says it's absolutely outstanding. Just wait. So I'm excited to see what all the candidates bring to the table. I would like to offer up a round of applause for everyone that's put in a lot of hard work. I want you to focus on a couple things today. First, while this is a mock convention, this is learning at its finest. This is you applying some of your knowledge to an unpredictable, real-world situation. That's what we strive to do, and that's what we strive to prepare you for. So this will help prepare you to be better, more responsible citizens beyond high school. It will help you apply your learning to a relevant, real-world situation, as I said before. Hopefully it will be fun. As a principal, I have one or two things I'm sure you can understand I have to say. An event like this, with so many kids in the auditorium and so many people being transient, moving in and out of the auditorium, going to class, coming back, etc., we're concerned about accountability. You need to sign in and out. People need to know where you are. Okay, we want you to have fun. We want you to be engaged, participate, make the best of this, but we also want you to be safe. We want to run a highly efficient high school. So please, don't abuse your privileges. Have fun, learn, cheer people on, and enjoy the moment. I don't think you'll do anything like this unless it's for real after this. Okay, so enjoy this mock convention. Maybe some of you will be fortunate enough to be a part of a real convention one day. Again, best of luck, have fun, and welcome to Towmenson. Thank you, sir.
All right, so let me just, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Mr. Haley. Let me just kind of run through those little bit of rules that Mr. Bauer just discussed with you. If you are leaving the auditorium at any point other than as part of our agenda, which I'll go through in a little bit, the table to sign in and out is right up here to our left on the floor. Not here, but down below. So you come up with your name tag, you sign out like you do if you're leaving the cafeteria during lunch periods. You put your name, the time you're leaving, where you're going, and then when you come back, you stop back at the table and you put the time that you came back in. All right, it's no different than any other school day here at North Penn. We have to be accountable for where you are at all times. All right? So at this point, I'd like to just point out, and Mr. Bauer mentioned it too, the students that have helped me organize this event, the students that are running this event, have put in a huge amount of time for the last 2.5 months to get this ready for you, including several days over the last week decorating this room. We're simulating a political party convention. So the process is that we want to make the auditorium look like it's a real convention. All right, so there are signs indicating state delegations at a real convention. Those signs exist. The auditorium here is red, white, and blue. We've got 1 million flags and signs. It's all about patriotism. It's all about loving the country and trying to make it better. All right? So just to give you a little filler on what a convention is, the convention has 3 purposes in the real world. Purpose number 1, which we are going to simulate for you tomorrow, is that the delegates at the convention will nominate who they want to run for president in November. So you are going to have an opportunity tomorrow to simulate that process. You're going to hear speeches from campaign managers. You're going to get to nominate one of the candidates for president. You're going to get to vote on who you want to be the next presidential candidate. And that process requires a majority of the delegates. And then once we've chosen our presidential candidate tomorrow, we'll go for a vice presidential candidate. You'll have a chance to nominate and vote on who that should be. So that is the most exciting time in this 2-day convention, because you're going to be lobbying each other and arguing with each other and trying to convince each other to vote for one person or another. It's always an awesome, loud, anxious, we don't know what's going to happen kind of day. It's what makes this 2-day convention great. The second purpose of a convention is more practical. The political parties have what we call a platform. It's the party's stance on the issues. All right? So every issue facing our country, political parties want voters to know what they feel the solution to that issue is, what their stance is. That is what we're going to do today. Today you're going to have a chance to discuss, to debate, to argue with each other in a respectful manner about the solutions to our problems. All right? And then the third function of a convention is one of the show. It's publicity. In a real convention, the most important piece of it is publicity, generating interest, generating excitement for your party and your candidate. For 1 week in the summer, the political party is the only thing that the news are talking about. And you build the excitement, you build the energy, and it starts on the floor of the convention with the delegates, being loud and cheering and arguing for their ideas and their candidates. That's the role that you're going to be playing today. We want you to be loud, we want you to be respectful, but be aggressive for your ideas and your candidates, okay? So that's a little bit of an intro to the process. If I could get the PowerPoint up now. Yeah, I know, it's a teacher, he's got to have a PowerPoint. It's the way we do things. Oh, it's up, sorry. So the first thing you see is the logo. Every political party has a symbol, a logo. The Democrats are the donkey, the hardworking, labor animal. The Republicans have the elephant, the big, strong animal. Well, we chose, our students were given the option, do you want to do a Democratic convention or a Republican convention? They chose to do neither, which is, for most intents and purposes, where America is today. All right? Americans are not happy with our leaders and our politicians and their inability to get things done. So the student leaders decided, let's be a third-party convention. So your convention is the NPHS Millennial Party Convention. All right? So we'll walk you through what that means in a second. But the symbol they chose is a bulldog. The bulldog is a loyal animal. It's strong. It doesn't give in. It's got that bulldog mentality, and that's what we want you to portray the next 2 days, that you are going to aggressively pursue your ideas and your candidates. Be a bulldog. Don't give in. All right? Now, the symbol they created is the bulldog in red, white, and blue, rising from the collapsed Democratic and Republican Party like a phoenix rising from the ashes. It is our time to step forward and lead. And that's what we're trying to give you the opportunity to do today. Now, this is a tradition that started in 1976 with a social studies teacher here at North Penn by the name of H. James Finnemeyer. Mr. Finnemeyer was a history teacher here for a long time before he retired. He ran the Student Government Association. He's always been an advocate of students, and he started this program in 1976 to give you a hands-on experience with how political parties work and how the presidential election process comes to fruition. So it started with him. Again, our objectives, so that you will be able to leave this building as a more engaged, a more informed, and a more responsible citizen. You're going out, you're going to go to college, you're going to get jobs, you're going to pursue your lives, but you're still a citizen in a democracy, a democratic republic, and you need to be aware, and you need to be active, and you need to be able to assert your positions in that role as a citizen. And that's what we're hoping to start today. So again, the process of the convention, we kind of already walked through that. The 3 goals of the convention. What your role is, again, you're a delegate. You're here to argue, to advance your position, and promote your candidate. And the problem we have is that the 2 parties that dominate our system today just can't seem to get it done. All they do is fight, all they do is disagree, and nothing gets done. So that's your role, that's our party. Why choose this? Here is some statistics for you. This is from 2001 to 2015, a simple question that was asked of people in America. Do you approve of the job that Congress is doing? It started in 2000 and run around 50%, shot up after 9/11, and it has progressively dropped in 2014 to its low point. 9% of the people thought Congress was doing a good job. That means 90% of America thinks they're not doing a good job. And the same can be said for our U.S. president, right? Not as negative, but not very positive. So again, 2009, 68% approved of the job the president was doing, and now we're down to roughly about 44% saying we don't think he's doing a good job. Americans are unhappy, and this is why we've chosen your convention. Now, we call it the Millennial Party. What does that mean? Millennials are you guys, anybody born between 1980 and 2000. That's when you were born. You're part of this generation. Millennials are going to make up the biggest piece of the U.S. population as we head forward into the next 20 to 30 years. You are the baby boomers of the 21st century. You're the biggest piece of the population. You're going to be running this country. And unfortunately, my generation has not left you with things in very good shape. With $19 trillion worth of debt, constant fighting between groups, it's not a good time. We're not handing it off to you in good shape, but it's your turn. All right, so there's our symbol. It's about opportunity. All right, you're going to hear some themes today. One of the themes is opportunity. This is your time. The other one is stop the insanity. You're going to hear that mentioned numerous times over the next 2 days. And if you think about American politics, it really is insanity. All right, so we've handed out the convention packets. Everybody should have one. We've tried to get everybody a name tag and a lanyard. If you don't have a name tag, we need you to come down at some point before you break out in period 3. Give us your name and we'll try to get them printed for you this morning. All right, so we've heard from Mr. Bauer. Again, here's our expectations. Get excited, express your opinion, advocate for your ideas, but be respectful. You're going to hear ideas you don't agree with. That doesn't mean you get angry. That means you try to bring facts to support your opinion as opposed to that idea. Oops. Too fast. All right, I'm going to turn it over now to our first speaker. Her name is Wendy Melcher. She is a mother, she's a community member, and she's a professional political consultant. So she's got a message for you. She's an awesome lady. Let's give her a big round of applause, please.
It is good to be here with you this morning. The place looks great. All the plannings, whoa, it moves. All the planning's been done, and the convention is officially underway. And with it, the birth of the Millennial Party. You heard this morning what a millennial is. You heard a little bit about what the Millennial Party's about. Frankly, you're going to determine that. But I find that despite what the sociologists and the marketing groups and the politicians like to label all of us, the best way to understand a generation is to look at its music. For instance, listen, in the 1950s, which is way before my time, I might add, there was a song that went like this. Darling, you, ooh, 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 send me. I know you, ooh, 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 send me. Darling, you, ooh, 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 send me. Honest you do, honest you do, honest you do. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. That was a song. And listen, granted, it left you with a lot of questions like, where in the world is he being sent? And is there postage required? But listen, at least he was being triple honest, right? But of course, you, the millennials, you've evolved. Your generation sees things so much more clearly, right? You have your heads on so much straighter. Because now we have songs like this. Ooh, I don't need y'all either. Ooh, don't want to talk about it. Ooh, like I don't know anybody, nobody. Like I don't know nobody, I guess I don't. Oh, you mad, huh? Oh, you mad, huh? Oh, you mad, huh? That's a song. And believe me, every single English teacher is mad after hearing it. Listen, there's another song, though. I think it's worth our time this morning. It was written by a Mr. John Mayer, who I'm sure is slow dancing in a burning room somewhere as we speak, because you know what? Who says he can't get stoned, right? But this song, listen. Now listen, this song he wrote in 2006, and it goes like this. Listen, this is important. Me and all my friends, we're all misunderstood. They say we stand for nothing and there's no way we ever could. Now we see everything that's going wrong with the world and those who lead it. We just feel like we don't have the means to rise above and beat it. So we keep waiting. Waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting. Waiting on the world to change. It's hard to beat the system when we're standing at a distance, so we keep waiting. Waiting on the world to change. Now, if we had the power to bring our neighbors home from war, they would have never missed a Christmas, no more ribbons on their door. And when you trust your television, what you get is what you got. Because when they own the information, oh, they can bend it all they want. That's why we're waiting. We're waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. That's a song. And might I add that it's absolute crap. Why exactly are you here today? Listen, I wholeheartedly agree that this may be the best way to deal with the post-holiday blues. I mean, you don't have to go to class. You're sitting with your friends. You got your phones out. It's kind of the perfect way to ease back in, isn't it? Or maybe your social studies teacher simply forced you, and you see it as just another high school obligation. I'd like this morning to introduce another option. Today is an opportunity. Actually, you know what? The next 2 days can be treated as extended vacation or obligation. But believe me when I say they have the potential to be world-changing. Now listen, I know it's not obvious, but I'm a little older than you. As a matter of fact, listen, my son, is he here in New Jersey? Oh, he's not here. He's in a lot of trouble. Where is he? Oh, get over to your delegation right now. My son, JJ, is a member of the New Jersey delegation. Let's hear it, New Jersey. They're all down the shore. But listen, if I could go back, if I could reverse, and if I could go back and talk to the young Wendy who sat in this very auditorium in 1985, I would tell her exactly what I want you, the Millennial Party, to know. Hear me. Number one, be fearless. Go and try. Listen, don't let what others think or social norms or self-doubts stunt you. People ask me how I became a political speechwriter. And the truth is, I knew somebody. A colleague that I worked with on a nonprofit board in my 20s had since moved away to another state. And believe it or not, he went to the same church as someone who happened to be running for governor. Now, there were political bigwigs, I mean big-time party consultants involved in this campaign. And they were having trouble producing a stump speech that the candidate was happy with. My friend, who knew very little about politics, was talking to the candidate at church and rather naively threw out the idea that he knew someone who might be able to help. The consultants were very skeptical, to say the least. But I was invited by the candidate to fly out and meet them, having never done it before and having absolutely no experience. I'll never, ever forget how I felt on that airplane. I even thought to myself, what the heck am I doing? I should start like everyone else and get like a dog catcher elected, right? Not a governor. And after 5 hours on that airplane, I was this little bundle of anxiety and self-doubt. But I got off the plane. When I got there, one of the consultants actually accused me of being a spy for a competing candidate. Me, JJ's mom from Lansdale, a deep cover, covert political operator. Listen, fearlessness doesn't always involve a sword. Sometimes it's just putting one foot in front of the other in an airport. Sometimes it's just ignoring unfounded assumptions. Sometimes it's simply trying something new. Listen, I now work with those same consultants. I call them friends. And we're working on getting someone elected president. Listen, Millennial Party, to change the world, you're gonna have to be fearless. Number two, gonna hate it. You ready? Learn, learn, learn. When I got off that plane, do you think I did a lot of talking? Listen, the Dalai Lama said it this way. He said, when you talk, you are only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. I have this friend who posted on Facebook, and I know Facebook's for old people, but listen, I have this friend who posted on Facebook this. She said, well, another day has passed, and I didn't use algebra once. While it's funny, listen, it displays incredible ignorance. Sorry, friend. Remember when I said that you can see today as obligation or opportunity? That's how you need to see algebra. I am successful because I know how to learn. These people, these teachers sitting here with you today, listen, they aren't just hoping you'll regurgitate facts on a test. They are teaching you how to learn, how to integrate information and ideas. They want you to see a concept from every angle, from above, from below, from the front, from the back. They want you to discover brand new things that you have never thought before. And I guarantee you, these history teachers are begging you to see that what happened yesterday has a direct impact on what happens today. And your algebra, well, often a major pain in the butt, is not obligation. It's an opportunity to see the world in a brand new way and to exercise your learning muscles. You're going to need them to change the world. Now, the downside, hear me, hear this. The downside is that learning absolutely requires mistakes. Lots and lots of mistakes. I want you to make so many mistakes. Now listen, not the kind that involve the need for bail. Listen, the kind that lead to learning. I'm sure you've heard it quoted, and I'm not even sure if it's true, because, you know, it's on the internet, so I guess it is true. But listen, I know you've been credited to Thomas Edison and his many failed attempts to invent the light bulb. He said, I have not failed 1,000 times. I have successfully discovered 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Make mistakes. And embrace the imperfection that led you to learn. It's okay to be wrong. Listen, I sat in on some of the planning meetings for this convention. You are going to talk about some fantastic things. And some of these things will seem a little dry at first, like the national debt. Listen, if your first response is, why should I care? Consider going into a restaurant, and before you can eat, you must pay the check for someone who ate there 10 years ago, as well as pay for your own meal. You're going to discuss gun violence, national security, vaccinations, border security, and I want you to learn. I mean, I want you to learn like never before. I want you to listen. I want you to weigh all the information. I want you to discuss in your caucuses, and then I want you to decide for yourself. You know those phones in your hands? I want you to Google about your questions and read. Listen, you don't have to think something because your parent or your teacher does. And frankly, hear this. You do not need to reject an idea simply because your parent or teacher embraces it either. Millennial Party. Learn, learn, learn. Lastly, I want you to take all that fearless knowledge and I want you to act out. Listen, I am a shameless eavesdropper. I'm shameless. I love to listen to people and what they have to say, especially when they don't know I'm doing it. I was recently in a hair salon sitting in the waiting area. I was reading, a People magazine. A lot of good information in People magazine. I was reading a People magazine while my daughter got her hair cut. There was a woman there, and I would say she was about 30, maybe a little over. She was getting her hair done, and I listened as she chatted away with her hairdresser, and she was talking about being married to a doctor and caring for her dogs all day. And then she started a subject I just couldn't believe. She confessed her Nickelodeon addiction. Not only does she watch Nick and Disney Channel all day, she watches the old shows on Netflix. She squealed, and I quote, "I just can't help it. They're just so good." Millennial Party, hear this if you hear nothing else. We live in an age of distraction, not an age of action. This is not judgment, listen, because I had strep throat over the holiday, and so I decided to sit and check out a cable series that I had always had heard about, but I never sat down long enough to watch. Now, I probably had 1, maybe 2 days of lounging and recovery credited to me, but let me tell you, once I got started, I got so wrapped up that I just got flat out addicted. And you want to know what I think one of the most dangerous words in the English language is? Tomorrow. The world will never change if we don't act. If we keep letting other people make decisions, create policy, speak on our behalf while we watch Nickelodeon, or play video games, or scroll through Instagram, we have handed over our personal dreams, our collective future, and our government to someone else. And have you seen some of this year's candidates? Anyone you trust with your future? Anyone you don't trust to speak for you? Listen, there are specific ways to act. I know your student leadership will spell some of those ways out over the next 2 days. So before I close, I want us to look at one more song. It's obscure. It was released in 1970. It did not define a generation. It's by a guy named Cat Stevens, who is now known as Yusuf Islam. And it goes like this. Well, I left my happy home to see what I could find out. I left my folk and friends with the aim to clear my mind out. Well, I hit the rowdy road, and many kinds I met there, and many stories told me on the way to get there. So on and on I go. The seconds tick the time out. So much left to know, and I'm on the road to find out. In the end, I'll know, but on the way I wonder, through descending snow and through the frost and thunder. I listen to the wind come howl, telling me I have to hurry. I listen to the robin song, saying not to worry. So on and on I go. The seconds tick the time out. So much left to know, and I'm on the road to find out. Have a great convention. Thank you. Listen, go for it.
So we keep waiting, waiting, waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. It's hard to be resistant.
All right, now, in a real convention, what happens next at the start of the convention is that the party members choose a chairperson and a temporary chairperson to run the convention. So that's the next step we're going to go to. And then we're going to get into the issues. And you're going to have a chance to discuss, to debate, and to vote. So I'd like to do a little practice. Right now, you're going to be voting on things today and tomorrow. And today's voting process will be this. It's called a voice vote. Simple matter. We tell you what it is you're voting on. All in favor say yay. All opposed say nay. So I'm going to ask you the question that I had on the board a little bit ago. Do you approve of the job that our U.S. Congress is doing? All right, that's the question. Do you approve of the job that Congress is doing? All in favor say yay. All in favor? No one? All opposed say nay. All right. That's the process we're going to use. Now, the second question I showed you. Do you think that President Obama is doing a good job? All right, hold on. All in favor say yay. All opposed say nay. All right, now when we have a situation like that, where it's not really clear if it was yays and nays, now we're going to go to what's called a division of the House. And we're going to ask you to stand up if you are in favor of the work that the President is doing. So all in favor, stand up. What we would do at this point is we'll go out and count heads. All right, now sit down. All opposed to the work of the President.
So right now we have Mr. Haley talking to the different delegations and the party in general. But before him, we heard a great speech by Mrs. Melcher all about change and what our new young millennial party should be doing and looking forward to for their future as voting people. Erica, what did you think about the speech that she gave today?
Thanks, Maddie. I thought she did a very nice job portraying the sense of urgency that millennials need to take here. The change that the United States needs to undergo is going to fall on us, and I think that sometimes we don't quite understand how urgent it is. So I think she did a nice job portraying that. It wasn't as much of a political speech as it was a motivational speech to go and take the bull by the horns here today.
How do you think this is going to change the moods today of all the young people in the room?
I can tell you it already has. People are a lot more into it. There's a lot more buzz in this room now after her speech because I think she connected very well than there was, say, before her speech.
Have you been hearing a lot of talking between the different delegations? Are they getting ready to get their views together?
Not at this point, but I believe when we take our break here in a minute, they will be. I think things are starting to open up now, and the delegations will start to talk more and more.
Sounds great. So with Mrs. Melcher's speech about change and everybody trying to start looking forward to what they want to vote for and who they want to support, do you think any of these candidates will be real popular with the Millennial Party today?
I think actually the candidate that I would say would be the most popular so far, based on what I've seen from the delegations, I think Hillary Clinton will be a front runner up there. I think she runs the middle, and I think she will get a lot of the votes from more of the liberal states. I think after her speech and after a little bit of the grilling, I think Donald Trump will have a little bit of an uphill battle, but who knows? There are some people who are very upset with the way the country's going, and he does offer a solution, a very radical solution, but a solution nonetheless to our problems. So I think it'll be interesting to see, but I think those are two candidates we need to keep our eyes on.
That's awesome. Thanks for your input. I'm really excited to see how the Millennial Party is going to come together today and how their different stances are really going to take the floor and everyone's really going to put their all into it. Do you think we're going to see a lot of aggression between the different delegations?
Oh, I think we are. I think kids are definitely going to take the opportunity to be aggressive and try and go and get things. So I do think we'll see aggression, yes.
All right, thanks, Eric. We're going to send it back to the floor of the convention.
Ladies and gentlemen, Einstein once said insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. It's pretty much exactly what we've been doing. In the 2014 elections, millennial turnout was only 20%, and that figure only includes those who are registered to vote. Millennials just don't vote in local elections, with only 12% of millennials voting for Philly's mayor. Those who are registered millennials make up 32% of the voters. Now it is more important than ever that we vote. Our national debt sits at $18 trillion. We are number one in military spending with a defense budget of $601 billion. That's more than the next 7 biggest spenders combined. The Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts cost $6 trillion. To put that in perspective, that's $75,000 for every American family. To make matters worse, we now have more wealth and income inequality than any major developed country, and the gap between the very rich and the very poor is wider than any time since the 1920s. The top 1/10 of 1% owns as much as the bottom 90%, and 50% of all new income since the 2009 crash has gone to the top 10%. The Senate just passed a $650 billion tax cut that could fund Bernie Sanders' proposed free tuition plan for 8 years and have some left over. Anyone in here want free tuition? Yeah, I figured. There are some 75.3 million millennials, all of those counted able to vote in the 2016 primary elections. There are only 74.9 million baby boomers, and they are the largest generation. Ladies and gentlemen, we can do this. We are bigger than our opponents, and we will take advantage of the opportunities we are given.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Okay. Let's hear again from Mrs. Wendy Melcher. That was amazing. And for JT as well, thank you. I'm going to recycle a bunch of ideas that have been said already, but I truly hope that after this, you guys get an experience that's worthwhile and something that you can take away from this and going forward, use this knowledge. As JT said, as Albert Einstein said, insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. For many years, the political scene of the United States has faced this insanity with officials passing through the White House with mostly strictly left or strictly right ideals and leaving the White House the same way they left it after broken campaign promises. What we're doing here is, at this convention during these next 2 days, is an incredible opportunity to reach a compromise between these left and right ideals of the Republicans and the Democrats by voicing our own opinions on behalf of our entire generation, the millennials. We're a group of young people, unlike any that have come before us, capable of answering any question and quickly connecting with any person around the world, all thanks to rapid technological advancements, a liberalizing society, and the immense diversity among us all. Yet in the sea of this accessibility, it's up to us to discriminate the right facts from dubious sources and online websites so that our arguments are supported with legitimate fact rather than speculation. It's up to us to learn about our country and our world with integrity. It's up to us to stop the insanity of the recycled motions of previous leaders and bring about the much-needed and truly desired change. A political convention is a special process by which the masses get excited, exorbitant amount of money is spent, and extreme competition eventually produces a legitimate presidential candidate. Many of you, and myself included, are not political experts, but I implore you to approach this convention with an open mind, since this November, many of you will be qualified to vote in the 2016 election and will be able to put these thoughts into action and create real results. While you may think that none of this will impact you personally, in reality, most of us are already worrying about the imminent struggle of paying for our college tuition, paying taxes on our minimum wage jobs, gender equality, and on our online security, and many more inevitable issues that will impact us in the near future. With all that in mind, I again encourage you to use these next 2 days to further your understanding of these real-world issues so that we can all, in some form, be activists and bring an end to this insanity. We should no longer have to expect the same results from every president. We should instead start to expect the change that will help our country, and this all starts with you. Thank you.
Where we are now is I want you to take out your packets. I'm going to walk you through the packet to help you understand trip over court, what's in there that you're going to make use of in the next couple of days. So on the front cover, you see the name of our party and our symbol. Inside the front cover is a little bit about the history, and then you will see the names of your colleagues that have worked for the last 2.5 months to help make this happen, including being here until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock last night. So when you see those colleagues, make sure you thank them for all their efforts. Then you see election information. The way the presidential election process works, it's 3 steps. Anyone interested in becoming the next president has to go through the nomination stage. And that's a series of primaries or caucuses in each state. This stage runs from late January through June. Each state decides how they want to do it, and it's based on the input of the political parties. 43 states do it by what's called a primary election. Anybody that wants to be the nominee for the Democratic or Republican Party forms their own organization. They get workers in each state. They file a petition with signatures supporting their nomination to get on the ballot in each of the states. And then the state holds an election. Like I said, that's anywhere from late January, early February through June. 43 states do it by a primary, which is a simple election. You walk in. If Kate's a Democrat, she shows her, gives her name, and she gets taken to a booth, and she's looking at all the Democratic names that want to be nominees for different offices from president on down. JT is a Republican. He goes to the same polling place, but the ballot he looks at is Republican. You can only vote in a primary in Pennsylvania if you are a registered voter and registered in your political party. So in Pennsylvania, the primary is April 26th of 2016. If you wish to vote, you need to be registered by March 28th of 2016. Tomorrow we'll show you how to do it. You can do it old-fashioned by paper and mailing it in, or you can do it online. But that's your deadline. If you're interested in voting in the primary election to choose which candidate will represent Democrats or Republicans, you must do so by March 28th. The rest of the states in the country do it by a caucus, and I'm not going to bore you with a caucus. It's a meeting, 4 or 5 hours of talking, and then they hold a vote. Those results translate into delegates that will come from those states and attend the convention of either the Democratic or Republican Party. That is step 1. If you want to be the nominee, you've got to fight your way through that process. And you've got to generate energy in every state, and you've got to do well in the primaries and caucuses to have a chance. Then the convention comes up, and again, you can see on page 3 there, the convention for the Republicans is in Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, on July 18th through the 21st. The Democrats are coming to Philadelphia, July 25th to 28th. That is where the formal decision is made by the delegates that you're role-playing this today and tomorrow for who they want their nominee to be. That's step 2. And then step 3 is, from that point, the end of July through the Tuesday after the first Monday in November, when the general election occurs. That's the process. So you got your deadlines. Then you go on to the next page, the yellow page in your packet. It is the agenda for today and tomorrow. We're right on schedule at this point. What's going to happen next, which is period 3 of your normal day, which is roughly 9 o'clock, you're going to break out into smaller state groups. And you're going to be spread out all over the building. And you're going to have period 3 to look through the different platform issues that we're talking about. And as a state group, talk about which ones you like and which ones you hate, which ones you want to support and which ones you want to kill. When you come back at the end of period 3 into this auditorium at the start of 4th period, period 4 and 5 will be devoted to tackling one issue after another. We've allotted 15 minutes for each plank, but if we're having an engaged conversation and we want more time, somebody can make a motion from the floor to extend it for an additional 5 minutes. Once it appears as if we've exhausted the conversation, we're going to hold a vote. All in favor, all opposed on that particular plank. Now, if you see something in a plank that you like and something else that you don't like, you can offer an amendment. So during period 4 and 5, this is your opportunity. You keep hearing that word. We have microphones across the front and then through the middle aisle. All right? Microphone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're making a little clockwise circle here. Go to the nearest microphone, and it's going to be hard. That first issue, you're all going to be sitting there going, I don't want to be a nerd. I don't want to go up and talk yet. Be fearless. You heard Ms. Melcher talk about it. Step up there if you have an opinion and give us your opinion. If you want to change the plank as you see it in your packet, and I'll show you where that is in a minute, you simply have to write it down in period 3 and give it to the table up here when you come in, or you can do it verbally from a microphone. So for example, if we were going to talk about the voting age, and the plank said we're going to lower the voting age to 16.
All right, so right now we've got Mr. Haley kind of talking to the whole delegation, preparing them for the planks and what they have to look forward to for the rest of the day. Eric, what's up next on our agenda for this convention?
It looks like after this we'll have speeches by, we will have the delegation caucuses, so our states will break out and they will go discuss the matters that they will be supporting and then they will not be supporting, so that when we come back, we will be able to discuss our planks and all of our states will be able to have their ideals set so they know what they'll be fighting for, what they'll be supporting, and what they'll be opposed to.
Awesome. What do you see as being a hot topic for this 2016 convention between the delegations?
I think a lot of the social policies will strike a chord with a lot of the young people here. I think that definitely the free tuition that will be proposed by Bernie Sanders will be a hot topic that's hotly debated. I think also some things like the race relations in the United States and things of that nature. I think those will be the most hotly contested, and I think that's why they're at the end, so we can get the foundation set at the beginning with economic and foreign policy, and then I think the social platforms will be the most hotly contested ones at the end.
All right, great. It looks like we have a lot to look forward to, a lot of different opinions going to be stirring between the caucuses, but right now we actually have Maddie Heilweil here in the studio with Mrs. Melcher. Maddie?
That's right. I'm here today with Mrs. Wendy Melcher, a political consultant, and she just gave a very inspirational, motivational speech on learning, making mistakes, and listening to what's going on around you. Thank you for being here with us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
What do you think about North Penn holding a mock convention like this?
I actually think it's fabulous. I think that it is learning in a real life context. You know, you'd be surprised, but this is actually similar to what a real convention is like. It's chaotic, it's noisy, it's a lot of people arguing, talking about all kinds of issues. Some people care about some of the issues, some people don't care at all. It's actually very, very close to what it's really like.
What would you give someone advice-wise who's looking into pursuing a field into the government?
Well, wow, what a question. I think that I would have a deep understanding of both history and I would have a deep understanding of communications. I think you can have all kinds of fabulous ideas and be a great thinker and have a lot of learning under your belt, but unless you can kind of communicate what it is you believe and what it is you're thinking, you know, it could be trouble or could be an obstacle for you. So I would study a lot of history, I would study communications, I would listen. I would do a lot of listening. People are starving. They're hungry for somebody who really hears them and implements what they're thinking and feeling. And so if you're interested in pursuing office, for instance, I would do a lot of listening to a lot of people.
So you're a political consultant. Can you explain to the students and our viewers exactly what you do?
Sure, sure. In most political campaigns, or what happens is that a candidate decides they're going to run, and if they have money, if it's a larger scale election, they hire a consulting group. And within that consulting group, there are some key elements and some key people. There's the main consultant, who is basically the umbrella person, the person who oversees, you know, just about all of it. And then underneath that person, there's a finance person. There's a lot of rules and regulations about campaign financing, about reporting. So there's a person that has a team of people underneath them, but there's a person who's solely responsible for that. There's a media person, and that's, all those political commercials that we see, and that, you get to the point where you're like, oh, I can't wait till this election is over. If I see one more political commercial, I'm going to shoot myself, that kind of thing. There's a media consultant, and this person works with media buyers, finds the exact target times they want to show the commercials, whether it's during the news or whether it's during Scandal or whether it's during The Walking Dead or whatever, targeting who it is they want to talk to according to who watches what kind of programming. They also do radio and other kinds of things like that. Then there is a messaging person, which is essentially kind of what I do. And that's a person who decides this is our key message and here's how we're going to say it. And we're going to say the same thing and we're going to say it over and over again and we're going to say it kind of in different ways. So everybody kind of gets their arms around what's happening and what we're thinking about and what the candidate wants people to be thinking about. So that includes speech writing, it includes print media, those kinds of things. And that person obviously works very closely with the media consultant because that messaging should be uniform. It should be the same. And then underneath, and then you have, the fourth person is a polling person. There's actually huge polling companies down in like Bethesda, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., and that person's the person that continues to tap into what the public is feeling, whether it's via telephone or there's a lot of online things you can do now. And those are the people you hear all the time when you're watching the news, oh, so-and-so has a 10% lead in the polls. So these polling people, they are constantly checking the temperature of the American people. Or if you're just in a statewide race, you're checking the temperature of different counties or different towns, that kind of a thing. And so then underneath those four people, you have a campaign manager, you have somebody who does the day-to-day press releases, you have volunteer coordinators. I mean, it's just like a flow chart of people, and then of course you have a massive amount of volunteers that are out on the roads, on the streets, talking. They're at campaign events, passing out literature, getting excited, being involved, and so that's kind of how it all works from top to bottom.
So you're saying that even if it's not you're up on the podium debating, there's still many aspects and jobs that can take part into a political election?
Absolutely. If you're, I always say, have a voice somewhere, and it doesn't have to be you're the person with the microphone speaking from the podium. I feel like you can have an opportunity to influence ideas and policy and conversation no matter what you're good at. There's a gentleman whose daughter goes to school here, and he's a mathematician, okay? And he is involved in a project right now where he's using math to explore the melting of the polar ice caps and what it means for our environment. He's very, very passionate about it. That man is literally changing the world with math. It doesn't matter what your skill set is. It doesn't matter what you're good at. I mean, it matters, but you know what I mean? Take all of that energy and all of that learning and all of that enthusiasm and go and change your corner of the world using what you're good at. And you can, in a political campaign, there's so many jobs. There's people who just get people excited. I mean, what a great thing, So they use their skills to do that. So yeah, there's a wide variety of jobs, a plethora of people with all kinds of different skills.
It seemed that you were able to get our student body very excited into this upcoming election and debate. Thank you for joining us today. It was incredible to hear you speak, and best of luck with everything.
You too.
Thank you.
You guys have a great convention.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like we just had some great talk in the studio about candidates and what all goes into an election, and we're really learning a lot here today at our convention. It's really a great opportunity for students and everyone that's involved in this today. Erica, I hear the caucuses are just breaking now into their separate states to start discussing and reviewing. They're playing some platforms. What is the mood like down there? What do we have to look forward to?
As you said, everyone's breaking out right now and they're heading to their separate rooms. I'm going to be looking a lot for what the different states are going to be standing for. I think we're going to look at a pretty evenly matched setup. I think conservative and liberal ideas, but I think you're going to be looking at more conservative ideas coming from some of the more southern states and more liberal ideas coming from the northernly states. I don't know if that will hold true with the economic policy, but I think socially and with the foreign policy-wise, I think it'll be kind of a little cut and dry with those different northern versus southern states. And I think also with the candidates themselves, I think it'll be very cut and dry. But it'll be interesting to see. I would expect that they'll be talking about it over the next, it looks to be like 20 minutes. And when they come back, I think I can't wait to get started and see who's going where with this, with their ideas.
That's awesome. It looks like we have a lot to look forward to today. It looks like, although they're very broken up into their different caucuses, that they should share some similar ideals and have some same opinions. And although earlier we had talked about Clinton and Trump being front runners and probably popular within the student body, the Millennial Party doesn't agree with this building a wall between our border with Mexico. Do you think that's going to be a deterrent for Trump today?
I think it very well could be a deterrent for the majority of the Millennial Party, but I do think there are some people who are definitely fed up with that, and I think there could be some people who would be staunch supporters of that. I think you're going to see the people who are supporting Trump are going to be very vocal in supporting Trump. I think they're going to be very passionate, and they're going to do a lot now. Whether that passion will be matched by other Democratic and more liberal Republican candidates, I don't know. That remains to be seen. But I think it's a very interesting topic. But I'm sure there will be staunch support for Donald Trump. Whether it is widespread staunch support, that remains to be seen.
All right, great. I'm glad that we can see your opinion on things down at the floor, seeing how the students are all working together and the different vibe that we can get with their opinions and their discussions so far. With North Penn being such a diverse population as it is, do you see any conflicts that could possibly evolve from different immigration or possibly racial type issues because of our diverse student body?
I do think there will be. I think especially with the race part and the immigration, I think there will be some debate there because of how diverse we are. We have people from all corners of the globe here, all walks of life, all different income levels. So I do think there will be a debate there. I think it will be a good debate to have, and I think it's a debate that people need to have in the world today. But I do expect there to be some very hotly contested social debates today.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talking going on with a lot of different types of people. And with our Millennial Party and our people today, technology is really taking over the world and almost people's lives as it seems. And with different cybersecurity issues and people being so attached with their devices and wanting their privacy and such, do you think different views on security and taking information could possibly just not sit well with the students and the delegation today?
I think that is definitely something we need to be concerned with. I think there is something that the student body as a whole will probably not be all right with the amount of cyber overreach that is going on. So I think that will probably be something that will be a unanimous decision to try and crack down on that. But I look forward to seeing if that is the case.
That's great. I'm glad that you have such strong feelings and a connection with these caucuses today. And, with the current gun violence and different things that are going on in the world today, although the Second Amendment is very key in our society, do you think that people will support different gun laws or kind of be against them today?
I think, again, that'll be something that is pretty split because we live in a suburban area, but there are also some rural areas around here. So I know there are people who around here that do own guns. There are people in the school who are hunters and such and staunch supporters of the Second Amendment that I know of. But I also know that there are some people who may have been affected by gun violence around here because a lot of people have been throughout the country. So I think there will be some support for the Second Amendment and upholding it, but I think there also will be a lot of support because we live in a more suburban area for some gun control. So I think that'll also be one of the social topics that will attract a lot of attention. I think we may have to move to extend the debate because I think it'll be talked about a lot.
Great. It looks like we have a lot to discuss today, a lot of different opinions, a lot of different people. But right now we actually have Maddie Highvile in our studio with Chairperson Katie Solomon. Maddie?
Katie Solomon, Chairperson, is here with us today to talk about what the students should be expecting to see and what kind of roles they'll have. Thank you for joining us today, Katie.
Thank you.
Are you hoping that the students will be involved and engaged and as excited to partake in this mock convention that everyone's worked so hard to put together?
Of course, I think it's definitely really important that kids kind of take this at least a little bit seriously. We're hoping that everyone has fun, but we're also hoping for kids to get educated and really learn more about their community and society and what's happening beyond these four walls, if you will, of high school, and what's really going on in our world and how this is going to impact us. As soon as we graduate, we're moving on to college, and I know that already people are starting to freak out about paying tuition and getting a job and things like that. So it's really important that we take responsibility now so that in the future we can make our world a better place for us and our kids and future generations to come.
How were the planks and platforms chosen on which it's going to be discussed over the next 2 days?
So basically what we did was we picked the biggest hot topic issues that are happening right now, real world. If you turn on the news tonight, you'll probably see at least one or two of the things we're discussing. And that's kind of what we did. We kind of did things that would definitely be real world impact and things that are happening right now so that kids kind of have a little bit of background maybe, and that this is something they can learn more about and go out and be more educated about things in the future and discuss, like Homeland security is something that we're going to discuss. Like I said, college tuition is another thing. And really just going forward, we hope that the planks that we've chosen will be applicable to today, tomorrow, the future.
If a student wishes to voice their opinion, how is that going to work today through our convention?
We have, in the auditorium, we have 6 microphones set up, and each plank is allotted 15 minutes. But if there's a good discussion or really important things happening, we can extend that time. And during that time, students can get out of their seat one at a time and speak in one of the 6 microphones, and they'll each have at least a minute to speak. And we hope that everyone gets to participate in that.
Mr. Haley said earlier that you guys are using a form of parliamentary procedure. This is used to teach the kids how it would work in the real world. Do you think it's important that you guys have decided to follow that today?
Yeah, parliamentary procedure is more of a formality than anything else. It's good to keep order and get things to keep moving. Parliamentary procedure is used in a lot of other places other than political conventions. Various meetings in the future and things like that definitely will follow parliamentary procedure. And it's just important to have a little bit of a basis, and just to keep order amongst 1,000 students is always important.
As President Chair, can you describe a little bit of what your job and responsibilities were getting ready for this convention?
So I basically was like the overseer, if you will. We have a great committee that's been working on planning this for months since the beginning of the school year. And I didn't even know about it. I got sucked in and I just really enjoyed it. And I appreciated all the work that everyone was doing. And I interviewed. And then following that interview, I was chosen to just be an overseer and make sure that things were getting done. And if any job had to be required to be done, that kids were doing it, and I also helped contribute whatever ideas and thoughts that I could if needed.
I wanted to congratulate you guys on a beautiful setup down there, some incredible speeches so far. It's been great having you on the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Much. Thank you.
All right, we just had a great speech over here in the studio. Katie Solomon really connects with our student body, really gives us an idea about the energy we're going to see today for the convention. We just want to throw it back down to Eric at the convention floor. Eric, how's the energy looking down there? Do we have a lot to look forward to with these discussions coming up?
Thanks, Maddie. Right now, it seems as most of our caucuses have filed out of here. There's some of the caucuses are still around. They're down to my left over there, and there looks to be a lot of discussion going on. It looks to me right now like that is Louisiana over there, and they're having a debate. I can see 2 people getting animated right now. So I think the passion is there right now. I feel people are really going to be putting their hearts into it, and I think if that's the case around the rest of the building at the rest of the caucuses, I think we're in for some very good debates, and I think things are going to be, hotly contested here as we move forward.
With all this strong energy, I'm sure we have a lot to look forward to, a lot of passion coming from our student body today. And although we just learned that the planks only have an allotted time for how long we can really discuss them and get into it, do you foresee them running over their time in multiple different areas?
Yeah, I do actually. I'm a little worried about that, to be honest, because I feel like there is so much that is such a hot topic and divides our country right now, that I feel like that our school is a microcosm of the country, and I feel that some of the of the ideas will tear us apart, and I think the debate will be so good, and that the moderators will move it on, and it will run over its time. So I'm worried we might not get to everything, but I think the debates that we will get to will be very good, and I'm looking forward to it.
That's great. I'm glad to see that everyone's really involved and getting into it. And so as it seems, this Millennial Party actually supports an equal work for equal pay amendment to guarantee equality between male and females. Do you think that our students are going to take this seriously today in discussing different women's rights, or do you think this could possibly just turn into a kind of a foolish discussion? I hope that they take it in the direction. What directions do you see?
I think it will. I foresee it be taken in the direction of being very serious and moving forward, because I think that's an issue that Americans in general should be very passionate about, and I think the country is starting to move in the direction of trying to get women equal pay for equal work, and I think that's one of the things that will not be discussed as far, because I think that the Millennial Party does not feel that needs to be discussed, and it's something that will be a platform, and I think that'll be one of the easy platforms for them to set up, not one of the debated ones.
That's great. I hope that we see everyone on the same page today, that we can really reach a conclusion as a party with this new millennial and their different views on the planks and how we can see the future taking a turn. And hopefully we can come together to elect a candidate that agrees with our party. But how important do you think this convention is, say, being down there on the floor, the energy, just how everything is set up, and the different caucuses working together? Do you really see the importance of this convention having an impact on the students today?
I think it is very important. If you look at voter turnout recently for just in our area, 13% for our last primary election was the voter turnout, and I think that's something that needs to be improved. There needs to be more representation throughout that, and I think this is something that will try and spur the student body, and some of the seniors turning 18, they can vote in this election. I think that will get them to want to get out and be an active participant in the political scene, and I think this will absolutely help with that.
Speaking of voting, it's actually quite interesting. Back when North Penn held this convention in 1988, we actually elected Donald Trump as our president when he wasn't even close to being up in the race or being a potential candidate. But now we see in this 2016 convention, he's a very, very big front runner and very popular with different groups of people, almost a very conjoined group of people looking to support him. What do you think the chances are that North Penn will do it again and just put Donald Trump back as our president?
That's an interesting question. Like I said earlier, I think it all comes down to how much support he gets. I think the support that Donald Trump will get will be very strong. I feel the people who are backing him are ones who really want to take a stand and are trying to affect change in this country. They're not running the middle. They are trying to take the bull by the horns and trying to do things. So I think he will get support. He will get some support, but it depends on how much he gets to be elected. I would not foresee it, but I think there is a good chance he will be one of the candidates who will be up there and will be in the running when this all comes down to the wire.
Thanks, Eric. It looks like we have a very interesting day ahead of us with our different planks. We can see what the Millennial Party actually decides to support. And although each student is equipped with their party and how they would like to move forward and what opinions they agree and disagree with, do you really think the party is going to stick with what they've already established as their planks and their views, or could you see things really taking a turn and a lot of different viewpoints end up getting changed after different possibly persuasive discussions?
I think anything's possible. I think the people who came up with the original planks, it's a small sliver of the population as a whole, and so I think when we get the entire student body together and starting to debate things, I think our planks may get changed, and I feel like a lot will be at least debated, and I feel like a lot of our planks will end up being changed. Yes.
All right, thanks, Eric. I'm really glad that you can get a feel for the floor and just really keep us informed over here in the studio. But right now we actually have our very own Maddie Heilweil with Mr. Gilmer. Maddie?
Mr. Gilmer is here with us today. He is in charge of North Penn Television, and he has been to 6 of the 11 mock conventions held here at North Penn High School. Can you tell us how the conventions have changed over the years?
Well, the very first convention I was at, I was a student here at North Penn High School back in 1988. And I have to tell you, going into the convention as a student, I really had no idea what we were going to be doing. I was a junior in high school at the time, and when we came into the room, I just thought it was another assembly, But once we got into our caucuses and we started debating the planks in the platform, it was an incredible amount of fun to sit down there and debate what did we stand for, what did our state stand for, and then the energy on the floor, and you'll see this later today, is so much fun. Sometimes it gets a little crazy and it gets very chaotic, but that's politics. But it is a real life representation of what it takes to kind of give and take with other caucuses, other states, to try to get the things that you believe in to be understood by the rest of the group. It is a tremendous amount of fun. Day one's a lot of fun.
Do you think being here at the convention as a student, as a young adult, helped you form your own beliefs into your political parties?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of times, I think, as a student, you're not really thinking about it. You may hear some headlines and you may spout what your parents are saying or listening to television. But I think a lot of times as a student in high school, you're not necessarily really digging deep into an issue. And then when you have to defend what you believe is your belief, and figure out why you believe that, and then hear what the counter arguments are, you really start to say, like, well, I do believe in this, or I don't really believe in that, and what that guy's saying makes sense too, and it really helps you evaluate the issues and why you would support it, not just because it represents a party or it represents what the goal is of that convention, but really what you believe. And in that process of having to defend what you believe is really where you get into crystallizing those different types of viewpoints. And then how do you get somebody else to see your viewpoint? And that's what's going to be happening over the next couple hours here back in the state caucuses. As we get back here to the convention floor, you're going to really start to see that passion. And it'll kind of start off slow. You'll see it kind of just moving along very slowly. But once we kind of get into it, you're going to see each of those states coming up and a real debate starting to happen. And it's a lot of fun to see. I have no idea what this platform is going to look like by the end of the day today, but I'm excited to see how it develops.
And now that you're a teacher here at North Penn and you have so much hours behind the scenes, what do you hope that the students take away from all of this?
I just hope they're engaged. I hope they enjoy the process. They're respectful. Learn that. It's not about being the loudest person in the room, but learning that, how do I get someone else to see what I see? And then at the same time, being able to see what other people are saying and understand that as well. The process even behind the scenes for all of us here at North Penn Television is as well. How do we cover 8 hours today live? Okay, and you're all figuring that out as we go along here. But that's kind of the process. There was no script we could write for today to know exactly what was going to happen. So we're following along just like a real political convention, because in essence it is for the Millennial Party. So it's a lot of fun to see all of these pieces working, and there's really no better lesson than actually doing it for real.
Do you think it was a good idea that North Penn in 2014 decided to create a Millennial Party instead of going Democratic or Republican?
I think it's great that the students decided that's what they wanted to do. One of the things that I think could have limited us in the past is when you do one party, you're limited to the candidates of those party. So it's just such an interesting time. I love the concept of this Millennial Party, that every candidate's on the table. So now this room is going to have to decide if the platform matches the candidate, if that matters. And so everybody's on the table to be a candidate. In the past, if it was a Democratic convention, you can only pick Democratic candidates. Republicans, same deal. So now it's just everything's open for debate. And so I think it's a very interesting way to do this, where you're not kind of locked in to one set of ideas or one set of candidates.
Thank you for being here with us, Mr. Gilmer. I know we've all in North Penn TV put a lot of hours into this, and it's great having you.
I can't wait to see what happens today. It's going to be great.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Maddie. As we just heard from Mr. Gilmer, this Millennial Party is very beneficial to our diverse North Penn student body, and it really is bringing a new aspect to our 2016 convention, really letting people get their different views in, their opinions, and getting a wide variety of candidates on the floor to really change who you might support and what you may think. And as we are here today, we're just going to do a little recap of the day. Erica, what have we seen so far today?
Thanks, Maddie. So far, we've brought everyone in, and we've had our opening speeches. Mr. Haley who is running this, has brought us all together and explained what will be going on, what the purpose of this is, to try and make people understand, their civic duty and how these things sort of work, because we are in a presidential election year. And we've heard from Mrs. Wendy Melcher, who is a political consultant, and she has talked about her job as a political consultant and how she sees how important this is for us as a student body. And now we have our caucuses have broken out, and our students are right now meeting across the school and talking about the platform decisions that they're going to support as a state, and we'll be bringing them back in shortly. And then from here, we'll be moving on, and we'll be discussing the platform as a whole to set up our nationwide platform, and then we will be moving forward, and tomorrow we'll be electing our candidate based on that platform.
All right, thanks, Eric. It looks like we have a lot of discussion to look forward to with this Millennial Party today. Right now in the studio, we have Maddie Heilweil with it, Donald Trump's representative for today. Maddie?
ATN is here with us today representing Republican Donald Trump. Can you explain to us some of your tactics that you're going to use to convince our student body that you're the one we should elect as our president of the millennials?
Okay. Well, being as a representative for Donald Trump, I have to give the issues that Donald Trump wants. So the way I'm going about is that I'm actually going to go through kind of a persona as the step-nephew of Donald Trump. And so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give what Donald Trump says and kind of spew it back to the audience. And by doing that, then they get informed of what Donald Trump wants, because I know that a lot of people in politics, like in our generation as a millennial party, that we have a very low voter turnout, and also, in general American politics, we have always had a low voter turnout. So I'm going to kind of inform the people his stances on illegal immigration, Syrian refugees for the campaign right now. Regardless if you actually agree with his issues, I'm just here to spew out what he wants. I'm going to be a little humorous, being he's Donald Trump. I mean, but I'm always going to be serious on what his political stances are and his opinions. So.
Do you feel that you'll be able to keep up with the other candidates and compete side by side with them all the way to the final vote?
Well, me as myself, I'll try to keep fighting. I'll try to see what I get. I know that not every person will agree with me, obviously. I know that there's other candidates that are going to be, that might have maybe better ideals or less ideals. So I think I'm going to try my best. That's what I've always said. Doing your best is the best thing you can do. So I'm good.
Who do you feel on the other wing is your biggest competitor, and who you are going to compete against to prove that your beliefs are the correct beliefs?
Okay, well, I think a lot of people are popular with Bernie Sanders. I mean, I'm playing as a far-right campaign manager. He's playing as a far-left campaign manager. And usually in most primaries, and for a lot of teens, they start to develop their own kind of political opinions. And so I think knowing that Bernie Sanders is a very popular potential candidate, Donald Trump is not so much with that, but if I try to be my best, it might be kind of interesting. So,
from a student perspective, because you are a student here at North Penn High School, how has the experience been becoming a representative for such a big candidate for today's simulated mock trial?
Yeah, it's been a pretty fun experience. When I first heard about it, I was like, I gotta be Donald Trump. But yeah, I mean, it's been fun. I thought about the kinds of things. I even bought a wig that I'm gonna wear for the speech. I even have my own accent for it. And yeah, I kind of prepared what I can say for my speech and everything. I have 2 papers I'm going to read out loud. And yeah, so it's going to be fun.
Fantastic. Thank you for being here with us today. Best of luck in the convention, and we'll see if Donald Trump ends up being the millennial president. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so it looks like we're seeing a lot of confidence here today already in the studio. We've seen some confidence with Donald Trump's representative and kind of manager person for the day. Eric, what do we have as our first plank for today to be discussed between the Millennial Party caucuses?
The first one that we'll be discussing is economic policy, and under that, the budget and national debt, which we're $19 trillion in debt right now, and we as the millennials have to figure out how we're going to pull ourselves out of that. The second would be minimum wage, and I think this will strike a chord with a lot of us students because we typically, as high school students, are working minimum wage jobs, and some kids need to support a family, and how able are they to do that with only $7.25 an hour? From there, we will be moving on to the welfare and the income inequality, and Social Security to follow that up. Then from there, we will be moving to our foreign policy. Obviously, number one on foreign policy right now in everyone's minds is how can we protect ourselves from terrorism and the terrorism argument. So that would be the number one. After that, we will be discussing Russia and the Russian aggression. Following that, we'll be discussing Chinese aggression and how they're trying to expand themselves and are acting in an imperialistic manner, and how we are going to stop that but avoid a war. And after that, the cybersecurity of NSA and how secure we are as a nation from the NSA being able to see everything that we're doing. From there, we'll move on to the social policy issues, which I foresee as being the biggest issues of the day. And we'll start off number one with gun violence and how can we not attack the Second Amendment, but cut back on the amount of gun violence we have in this country, because we lead the world in gun violence, and that's not a category that many people would like to lead in. Then we'll go to national drug policy and the legalization of marijuana. I see this being another big idea. Whether we'll be okaying it for recreational use, whether it will be for medicinal use. So I think this will be another hot button topic. After that, we'll talk about the death penalty. Is it constitutional? Should we be able to implement it? From there, we'll be moving on to healthcare and what people call Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act. Should it be repealed? Should it be allowed? After that, we'll go to college funding, and I think this is where Bernie Sanders will really be making his stand for the 8 years of free tuition for college students, and then after that, how we can make college more affordable for students coming out of high school. After that, we'll be moving on to Planned Parenthood, and should U.S. tax dollars fund the Planned Parenthood program? From there, we'll be moving on to environmental policy, which we'll talk about using the amount of CO2 emissions and the climate change and all of these issues that are being discussed as we speak right now over on Capitol Hill. Then we'll be moving on to immigration policy, and I think this is where Donald Trump will be showcasing his idea to build the wall. But should we grant amnesty to illegal aliens who come in and the children who get into this country? So I think that'll be another policy that we'll spend a lot of time on. And then another policy that Donald Trump has brought to the forefront that we'll be discussing under immigration will be, should the U.S. ban immigration by Muslim people? And the status of Syrian refugees, should we let them into this country? Should we let them assimilate? Should we keep them separate? So that will be what we'll be going with there. And then after that, we'll be moving on to political rights and issues. So how the voting and electoral process works. Are they still good? Should we implement voter IDs and voter ID laws nationwide? Pardon me. After that, should the political parties have the right to control the process of redistricting and things of that nature? Then we'll talk about campaign finances, which I think is a big topic right now because we are going through a campaign season. So should the current laws on campaign finance be amended to reduce the amount of money one person can spend and donate? So should there be as much money in politics as there is, which is a big topic right now? Should we get rid of the Electoral College will be another one. Should we just go to just presidential elections based on the popular vote, or should we go with that? So, if we look back at the Al Gore election with the the second Bush presidency. You know, Al Gore won the popular vote, but didn't get the presidency. So that's an issue that I think will be coming up now that we're in a presidential election season. And then from there, we'll move on. Civil rights. How can the U.S. government protect and promote racial equality? And I think this will be something that everyone should highlight and star and put an asterisk next to, because I feel like this will be something that we'll be talking about a lot. It's one of the hottest issues, you know, in the country right now, and I feel it's as a social issue, as more of a social issue. It's something that students at a high school level will get behind more and are a part of more. And then we'll move on to gender equality. I think this will be another one. I think that all the ladies in the room will feel very strongly about this one, and I think this will be another very passionate time for students. And then we'll move on to discussions about the LGBT community and the businesses based on religious beliefs. Should they be allowed to not grant service to LGBT community members? So I think this will be something that is hotly contested as well. I think the last three on this page are going to be hotly contested ideas, and so that's how the day is shaping up right now. So I'll send it back to you.
Thanks for really highlighting the different planks that are going to be discussed today. We really have a lot to be discussed and at the same time learned for these new millennial party members. But actually right now in the studio we have Maddie Heilweil with a permanent chair, JT. Maddie?
Thanks. I'm here with JT. He's actually the temporary chair, and he's a member of the Political Activism and the Enact Club. Can you explain to me a little bit on what your beliefs on how politics are changing science?
I feel that as we move into a time where any information in the world is available if you just pull out your phone, the people who are in the media's eye determine public opinion. And as politicians move into the realm of science, so to say, science is influenced for the good or bad because of that. And I think that as we move on, we need to have more pragmatic scientists that are willing to get into the public eye with good science.
As we've heard before from some of our speakers, they said that take what you're good at and run with it. So I really hope you do follow in your paths and beliefs. As temporary chair, what are some of your responsibilities and duties in getting ready for this convention to make it such a success as it's been so far this morning?
I wouldn't say that any individual person really did more than anyone else. We all put a lot of time into it. Actually, yesterday, some people were here until 7. Mr. Haley was here until, I think, 10. We've spent a lot of time behind the scenes getting everything organized, and we're really trying to make it so that we can get as much debate on the floor as we possibly can and get as many of these students involved.
You yourself gave a very good speech earlier this morning following Katie Solomon, who we met with earlier. What are you hoping that students are going to get out of this? Because it's such an incredible learning experience that not all high schools get to partake in.
I think that we need to recognize that we do actually have a lot of say in how things go. I think growing up, we all, our opinions were thrown to the wayside, but now we're coming into power. We are the largest voting demographic for this upcoming election, and we really could decide who is elected. And I think that there are issues that are near and dear to all of us.
What are your beliefs on North Penn this year taking a millennial standpoint instead of just choosing one wing?
I think that allows, like I said, debate with everyone. We recognize that not everyone sides with one party, and we've also found that the two-party system really isn't doing so great for us. We have a lot of partisan action, and we have a lot of people who are in it for themselves. And we, in making this the Millennial Party, hoped to get people to realize that you should look at both parties, and you should look at everyone who's running on the same balance.
Are there any planks or platforms within our debates today that you feel are going to be largely debatable and stronger hits among our student body?
Oh, yes. From our polling, we found that drug legalization was a very big topic. Also, because of current events, police brutality is a big issue for a lot of North Penn students. And then beyond that, we also have things like climate and civil rights, whether they be women's rights or things of that nature, that I think will really be strong debating points.
Well, thank you for joining us on the show today. Congratulations on such a successful kickstart to this convention, and we're looking forward to see where it runs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we just had JT touch on some very important issues, such as how technology is really playing a role today in elections and just the knowledge of the people, and this, again, great millennial party and how it's really bringing the student body together to not just go in one wing or another. They're just coming together with similar viewpoints and such. And Erica, how are the caucuses doing at this moment in time?
Thanks, Maddie. Actually, I can just tell you that over to my left, I'm seeing a very heated discussion over. I cannot tell what state delegation it is, but they're up against the wall, and I see a lot of animated students over there. So I can tell you that the students are definitely getting into it, and I think they're probably discussing a lot of the topics that I had discussed earlier, as a lot of the hot button topics. So I think we'll be bringing it back in here shortly, but I do think that we're already seeing just within the states that there's a lot of debate going on, and so I think when we get out on the national scale and the states are starting to put their heads together and see what we are going to support as the Millennial Party, I think we'll see a lot of dissension on some different topics.
All right, so it looks like we have a lot of different opinions to look forward to. With seeing this already sort of division within the caucuses now, do you believe that the Millennial Party will be able to come together today in hopes of tomorrow giving majority to one candidate, or do you really see it being a tight race in the next day or so?
I would see it being a very tight race. I think we are going to come to some decisions on things today. I think that goes without saying, but I do think even when it gets to tomorrow, I think there will be a lot of dissension still between students, and I think there are going to be a couple candidates that will really put themselves to the forefront and will be up for the running tomorrow.
All right, so it seems like we might see a division within our caucuses. Although we are all representing one party, we do, again, have such diversity and different opinions and things like that. Thank you for highlighting what's going on the floor. Right now in the studio, we actually have Maddie Heilweil with another one of our political guests today. Maddie?
Hi, right now we are with Ashley Kister. She is representing Republican Ron Paul. Rand Paul.
Fine.
Can you explain to us, as a student, why you chose to get involved with this mock convention and represent a political candidate?
Well, I really liked politics, and I wanted to join an extracurricular activity that kind of fit with that. So I all of a sudden heard about the convention and how we'd be giving opportunities for students to talk about politics and learn about it.
As a representative for Rand Paul, can you tell me some of the things that he'll be talking about today and things that they strongly believe in?
Well, as a spokesperson for Rand Paul, we feel that the government shouldn't really tell us what to do because we are intelligent enough to live our own lives. The government shouldn't be telling us what we can and can't do, like smoking marijuana. Rand Paul doesn't care if you do that or not. You do what you want with your life.
As a student here, you also said you've had many other responsibilities, including writing the platform. Explain what your experience was in your involvement with the club.
Oh, that was really fun. Well, we had a whole big list of all these different topics that we thought people would find interesting and also things that people didn't really know about. And we divided and conquered that. So I have marijuana and campaign finance, and I kind of researched it a little and thought up with the different viewpoints. I think the best part about it is that other students are going to be able to put in their opinions. So I'm kind of here giving all the information, and then they get to talk about it.
As a representative, as we've spoken with Donald Trump before, how do you feel that you'll be able to top your other Republican candidates?
Well, none of the other Republican candidates care about our individual constitutional rights. The government with the NSA, it spies on us, That's not acceptable, but they don't really talk about that. They talk about other things, but Rand Paul knows what the real issue is.
As a student who, if you we're one who's looking into getting more into politics. Here at North Penn, are there clubs or organizations that following this mock convention they're able to become involved in?
I would definitely recommend taking classes that focus around government. I know in 12th grade that's kind of what that is, but there's also a political activism club I've heard about where you get to learn about a topic and debate it with other students who have different views. Yeah.
Thank you for being here with us today. It's great to speak with another Republican candidate, and we're going to send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Maddie. It looks like, although we haven't really discussed Rand Paul that much yet, that their committee really has some strong views and have a really good game plan for today on how they want to run their campaign and really get the student body to understand what they stand for and what they're going to be seeing. Erica, how are the caucuses doing down there? Do you see any more energy within the room? Are people really starting to get along at this point, or are we still seeing a lot of debate?
Thanks, Maddie. Actually, I just talked to some representatives from the state of Texas who came over to me, and they said that just not to give anything away, but they will be supporting some more conservative ideals. They'll be supporting the idea for Donald Trump's wall. It looks as if at this point that was something that they will be backing, and as long as as well as some other conservative principles they will be backing. So I think what I said earlier is kind of coming to fruition, that the southern states will be backing some more conservative ideals, and I think Texas, having Ted Cruz and all of that, I think there are some very right-wing, very conservative ideals coming from there. But other than that, everything's kind of holding the same. I think the debates are still going on. People are still talking. Things haven't come to a conclusion here yet. All the states are still talking about everything. So I think I like where this is going. It looks good from down here.
That's great. I'm glad the caucuses are really coming together, and although they are debating and getting their opinions out there, they are starting to kind of conjoin as one. And although you had mentioned that they're taking some conservative viewpoints in some of the different states, so their opinions don't completely line up with the Millennial Party's actual views and their planks that had already been established. How far away do you think that these caucuses could possibly stray from their own party?
I think that the views are definitely going to be very varied. I think some of those very conservative viewpoints that we're seeing from states like Texas, I think, will stray a lot. I don't know if there will be enough backing from the rest of the delegations to get them implemented and put as a platform. But I do think that we're seeing we'll see the debate about it, and I think talking about it and seeing both sides of the issue will be good for everyone. And so I don't know that it will become part of the platform, but I think it's good that all the states are talking about things like that, and different state delegations will be bringing up different ideas and counter ideas to the already established platform.
All right, great. I'm glad that we have a lot to be discussed today and possibly a lot to be learned throughout this convention with the different ideas and concepts, maybe things that our student body didn't know before that they could kind of incorporate into their own personal viewpoints. And it's actually kind of interesting here in the studio. I just learned that at any of our North Penn mock conventions, we've actually never elected a presidential candidate as president that has turned out to be the U.S. President. What do you think the chances are that at the end of this entire thing we could possibly have gotten it right and elected our future 2016 president?
That's an interesting question. I think if you look at most of the polls now, Donald Trump is actually leading the Republican race at the moment. So I think there's a good chance that as we get into the voting season coming up here next month, as we go to Iowa and everything, I think there's a good chance that Donald Trump may get the nod from the Republicans. And I think down here, we just heard from Texas, they're supporting a lot of his ideals. So I think there's a chance that he may get elected here at our mock convention, and I think there's a chance he might also get the nod from the Republicans. Now, who knows if he's able to end up being the president of the United States? Will he defeat the Democrat? That remains to be seen. But I think the clear frontrunner for the Democrats right now is Hillary, and I think a lot of the northern states are lining up a lot with her liberal ideas, and so I think she has a very good chance of getting elected for the presidency of the United States. And I think against Donald Trump, I think she holds a good chance here at North Penn as well.
All right, great. So it looks like things could really go either way today with possibly electing a real-life president. Actually, here in the studio, we have Maddie Haavile with another one of our North Penn news reporters. Maddie?
Hi, right now I'm with Zach Arsalan, a fellow, one of my North Penn TV news reporters. He's been spending the day downstairs in our auditorium, looking around the floor. What kind of excitement and what kind of things are they talking about down there?
Well, when we first got there, it was total chaos. And saw a lot of excited kids because I really knew what they were talking about or wanted to learn more. And a running theme with all the people that we talked to was becoming an informed voter and really getting involved with voter turnout being like such a low right now, and people not so much at this age group being interested in politics. We're seeing a lot of, both from teachers and from students, this desire for people to get interested in any way that we can. And there is no right or wrong, but there's just a desire for education, which at the end of the day is really what this is all about.
Teachers who are down on the floor, do they seem to be excited with how the students are forming and discussing these intense topics that they'll later be debating?
Definitely. All of them, most of them being social studies teachers, this is kind of their home, politics and the government. So all of them really want to see the best for their students, and their students forming an opinion and growing. And really, with such a cool event like this that only ever happens every 4 years, this has been such a unique experience for some of them. A lot of them, this being their first time doing this, or their first time really actually being involved and actually seeing all this. All of them really just want to see a lot of growth.
As we have so many different caucuses, and there's only a few in the auditorium right now, but do you see that as the debates go on that there's going to be a lot of segmented beliefs, or do you think that at the end of the day North Penn is going to have a unified opinion?
As much as I'd like to say one way or the other, I feel like right now it's a little too early to tell.
How low is your
Next, once we kind of get more involved and see more of the situation there, I think it'll be more of a clear cut. But for right now, it's kind of up in the air. It could go either way.
As a news reporter from North Penn Television, we will be seeing a package from you later. Thank you for joining us today, Zach. It's great to have you on this side of the screen.
Oh, no, thank you, Maddie. It's always a pleasure.
All right, great. It was awesome talking to somebody else who's down on the floor and really getting a feel for the convention as a whole and getting to also see the energy down there. Erica, what do we have to look forward to with the caucuses? Are they coming together soon to start their debates?
Yes, some people are starting to file back in here now. As I look down, it looks as if the Arkansas convention that was down to my left, that was one of the groups that were really going at it earlier. They've now seemed to calm down. It looks like they've come to a conclusion on what things they're going to be backing, what they're going to be supporting. So I think things are starting to wind down in here, and I think we'll be seeing shortly the different other caucuses from around the building will start to file back in, and I think the platform discussion will be going on as scheduled.
Awesome. It looks like things are running very smoothly and getting underway with our convention. As Zach just mentioned, he's been seeing a lot of very rapid discussion and a lot of passion down there. But he said he's also been seeing a lot of learning as well. Have you observed anyone who's really seem to have learned some new things from today already, or really become more informed with what's going on in the political world?
Yeah, it's funny. Right here, right in front of me, I have the Tennessee delegation, and I've seen a whole bunch of them who they've been going at it. They've been discussing things, and in an attempt to further what their belief is and what they want to support. They've been Googling things. They've been talking about things. So they've been on their phones and they're sharing statistics and they're sharing different facts. So I think there's a lot of learning going on, at least at this group right here. And I think there's a lot of learning going on across the board right now. And I think as we come together as the national convention, as all the states come together, I think more people will learn more things because all of this knowledge will be coming together and people will be speaking, and a lot of things will be learned for a lot of people in the room.
All right, I'm really glad to see that our very own Millennial Party is becoming a lot more informed, considering, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of us possibly could be voting in this next presidential election out there. We are turning 18 and we really need to be informed with the different political worlds, so it'll be exciting to see which direction these interviews or debates start taking. But actually right now we have our very own Maddie Highvile here with Joey Shibata. Maddie?
Hi, Joey Shibata is here. He is on the program chair, and you explained that you're in charge of the ruling. Explain what that means to the student body.
It's basically all the thing that Mr. Haley kind of went over, like how when he said like everyone who support say aye or like nay, it's basically that like I'm just looking over like if anyone is like commenting on like something that they shouldn't.
As a senior here at North Penn High School and other seniors among your senior class, why do you think it's important to encourage those who are of voting age to go out and vote during this real presidential election?
I think that we really need like the opinions from the young adult, like our generation more, because it's gonna be our generation that like get the benefit or like we're gonna contribute to like the tax or like other money. So I think we should have more like say in it.
Do you foresee a particular candidate coming out on top in the end, or is it still too early to see because the school hasn't started to debate yet?
I think, in my opinion, I think it's still kind of hard to see who's leading. I mean, for the Democratic side, I think Hillary is definitely leading, but Bernie Sanders like kind of catching up. And then on the Republican side, I know Donald Trump is like leading, but some other candidates are still like they still have like a lot of chance to win.
Since you put so much time and effort into getting this convention ready, what are you looking forward to that the students are going to take away from all this?
I don't think like they should like necessarily know how to like get involved, like know about politics. I just want them to know like how they can like kind of like spread their own opinions about like a lot of issues to like more people, and then like come up with like better ideas.
Just like other chairmen that we've interviewed today, thank you for all of your work putting this convention together. It's a great experience for North Penn High School, and thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maddie. It looks like Joey had some opinions to offer about the different candidates that we could possibly see coming out on top tomorrow when the caucuses actually start their whole voting process. And Eric, as we kind of left off, we were talking about the whole learning and discussing like the give and take with this convention. When we start discussing possibly the electoral college and versus the popular vote, how do you think students will respond to that, possibly because they might not have knowledge of exactly the inner workings of the electoral college?
That's a good question. I feel as if I'm sure some of the students have looked that up, and I feel that some of the states and delegations and students who support more the conservative, the Republicans and the conservatives, I think will want to uphold the electoral college system as it is, because some of the states, some of the big swing states are the big states that they can win. Like Texas has a lot of electoral votes, and Florida is another swing state with a lot of electoral votes. So I think, as it served them in the 2000 election when they got George W. Bush elected through the electoral college, I think those who are supporting the conservative ideals will want to uphold the electoral college as it is. And I think the more the liberals and the ones who are supporting more of the democratic ideals will want to go to a popular vote, because as we had said earlier, the millennials are more liberal as a whole, and they are the largest voter population for the upcoming election. So I think with them being the largest of the population, I think if they can get them out to the polls. If you have a popular vote, I think the millennials will do a lot to affect that vote, and I think there will be more. I think the country will go more blue if it turns into a popular vote. But it remains to be seen what the Millennial Party will here at North Penn will want to do. Who knows? But when we get to that, I think that'll be a topic that a lot of people will know more about after discussing it and looking it up and researching it than they did, maybe when they just saw it on the sheet at the beginning of the day.
All right, that's great. I'm glad to hear that people are becoming a lot more informed down there on the floor, and that's probably contributing to their energy and the different vibe that's down there between the discussions and the caucuses in general. But now over here, we actually have Maddie Hiavile with a representative for Jeb Bush. Maddie?
Down here in the studio, we have Nafuel, another representative for another Republican candidate, Jeb Bush. Thank you for joining us today. How do you feel having a third Bush as a possible president of the United States? What is that going to do for the future of our country and campaigns and things that his brother and dad have set?
Well, for Jeb Bush, I don't think his family is that relevant because Jeb Bush he's his own man. So I don't think his brother or his father is a big influence on him for his decisions.
What topics during our platforms are you strongly believing in as Jeb Bush today when we start to begin the platforms and planks?
Well, Jeb Bush is a big proponent of tax cuts, so he wants to lower the taxes. He also wants to create jobs for America instead of handouts, so I'm a big proponent for that as well.
As a student here at North Penn, what is your experience like being a representative in something that is only here at North Penn every 4 years?
I think it was a really fun experience because a lot of people have a lot of opinions about politics. I know people just don't know how to voice their opinion, and this was a good way to do it.
Since we've already interviewed 2 Republican candidates, how do you feel that once you're on the podium that you'll be able to prove that Jeb Bush is the leading Republican candidate?
Well, I feel like Jeb Bush is the most realistic, and his plans is the most ideal way to implement into our government today.
Thank you for joining us on the show today. Best of luck in the elections, and we'll see how this all turns out.
Thank you.
All right, so that's another Republican candidate. Seems like they have a very strong front. They're very confident within their party in general, how they want to represent their candidates and really go forward without the day. I know we kind of left on a different note, but I want to take it over to the possible minimum wage discussion. The Millennial Party supports minimum wage being raised to $15. Eric, have you been hearing anything so far on the floor before discussions about the minimum wage in general, since a lot of North Penn students do in fact have part-time jobs?
Yes, I think over here to my left, I've heard some discussion of that from the Tennessee delegation. I think it is something that really strikes a chord with a lot of the students here at North Penn because they do have minimum wage jobs for the most part. So I think it is something that will be a big topic of discussion, and I think will be something that the Millennial Party will definitely support, and I do not foresee that being one of the planks that we do change. However, I do think it's interesting, as we just heard from Nafuel, as Jeb Bush's candidate stand-in, that there are also some conservative ideals talking about wanting to create more jobs, and if there's more jobs in the country, will people be able to move up and get higher paying jobs, and will we not have to worry about moving the wage gap up? So I think it's an interesting discussion. I think we'll see both sides of it play out. However, I do think in the end that'll be one of the platforms that we will not see changed. I foresee it being something that will be set in place, and I think it's gonna come up. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna vote very quickly, and I think we're gonna move on to the next one.
All right, thanks, Eric. Thanks for really giving us the mood that's going down there on the floor so that down here in the studio we actually have a better idea of how the Millennial Party is coming together. Right now we have Maddie Hiavile in the studio with a chairperson from Maine. Maddie?
That's right. I'm here with Devin Robertson, the chairperson of the state of Maine. Down here in the studio today, can you explain what it's been like within your caucus debating these ideas and your beliefs?
I think it's interesting to see who has what beliefs, because we're definitely a mix between Democratic and Republican students. And being the chairperson, it's interesting to see how you can lead both parties when having your own ideals. So we've definitely had some conversation with, marijuana, the legalization of that, and gender equality. So I think it's been a good mix between, what happens between the two parties and having to deal with them two at the same time.
You said that marijuana and gender equality are the two, seems to be the hottest topics down there for your state. Do you feel that as a chairperson, it's going to be hard for you to not be biased when making the state of Maine's votes on what should pass and fail and all of those?
I do think some of my responses to the questions have been biased in regards to legalization of marijuana, gun violence, gender equality. But I do think as a group, we've been able to come to conclusions, and not be as biased as you may have been in the classroom. So it's nice to be in this situation, in this area, and get that experience in working with people instead of being biased. So it's been a good mix.
That's great. Is there a leading Democratic or Republican candidate that the state of Maine sees would best fit the millennial president?
I think we have settled on Bernie Sanders, but we have definitely we've looked into Hillary Clinton. No Republican candidates at the moment particularly spark our interest, but definitely Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton.
Great. And as a student, what is it like to be the chairperson and responsible for the state of Maine and being involved in such this unique process?
It's really cool to be involved like this. I myself am really into politics. I love politics. And it's good working with people that are also into politics, but also that aren't. So it's been really cool as a student to be able to learn from class and get into this and actually apply what we've learned in class and what we've learned in the real world and on television, and putting that into something that we can actually, make a difference in, or, teach people something new. So it's been really cool.
Thank you for seeming like you're engaging other students who don't seem so educated, and you're also learning from yourself, and best of luck to the state of Maine in their adventures during this convention. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Maddie. So we really just got a different view on the Caucus of Maine and seeing how they're coming together and how their discussions have been going on. And Eric, as we've discussed earlier, Maine, two of their big topics have actually been gender equality and the legalization of marijuana. So I think we're really going to see those become debated out on the floor with the different caucuses, and seeing how they come together should be interesting. And he actually mentioned that their caucus is leading towards Bernie Sanders. Have you overheard any of the other caucuses mention him as a possible candidate yet?
No, actually, down here, I've heard more topics about the platform issues and the actual issues that are on the docket than candidates so far. I think the candidate race will kind of play itself out after we have a set in stone policy. But until that point, I think it'll continue to be about the policy issues. And then once we have a set policy, I think that's when the students will start to move forward and discuss a candidate. So I have not heard anything at this point, but I think it's interesting that that the main caucus is already talking about a candidate. And I think it's also very interesting that it's a Democrat that is not Hillary Clinton. I find that very interesting, and I am eager to see if that's a trend that will carry itself out across the rest of the country.
All right, well, that's great. I'm glad to hear that students are really trying to stabilize their planks and get their viewpoints together and really become educated before they jump to the conclusion of candidates, since, as you mentioned, that is more of a focus for later and actually probably a main topic of tomorrow's agenda, seeing that that's when voting and things are going to begin. Are the caucuses at this moment in time all filing back in, or do we still have a little bit of a leeway and room for further discussion?
Yes, the caucuses are starting to work their way back in at the moment. The ones who had moved to go sit in different areas are kind of moving back. So I think things are starting to wind down at this point. The students are coming in discussing and talking right now. I cannot tell if that is in a political nature or what it is, but I think things are starting to wind down at this end, and I think we're just a short time away from beginning our platform discussion.
Great. It seems like we have a very anticipated next hour or so to really look forward to. I'm excited to see how the students all come together, and the caucuses will start to kind of relay back and forth different planks. Right now, actually, Maddie Highviles, again, in the studio. We have a member of the Secret Service up in here. Maddie?
You're right, Maddie. A member of the Secret Service, Jason, who's also a member of the JROTC, is here today in the studio with us. Can you explain to us what the job of Secret Service is to the actual United States President?
So, to the actual United States President, the Secret Service is in charge of essentially being with him wherever he goes. The Secret Service, and he doesn't even realize it most of the time, so don't tell him, but the Secret Service is always with him, watching him no matter where he goes. If he goes out for pizza one day, they're there, they're watching him, they're protecting him, and not just him, but the delegates, everybody who's around him, they're all getting watched, they're getting protected by the Secret Service all the time.
So having so many highly important candidates in one building, what is that like from a protective aspect of trying to keep everyone safe?
It's a little bit nervous, but we're all on edge. You know, we're watching for anything crazy. We're taking care of everyone. Hopefully we're not going to have another incident like George Bush getting a boot thrown at him, but, you know, hopefully we're good, but we're just trying to make sure everything everywhere is taken care of.
Is there anything that's gone on today that's put you on high alert that may seem to be suspicious throughout the building?
Not today, but we've heard some rumors, possibly tomorrow, so we got to keep a lookout on things, make sure everything is safe.
Perfect. Well, you do a great job of protecting our school and protecting our United States President. Thank you for being here today, and we'll let you get back to your duties. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Maddie. It's interesting seeing all the different sides of politics, even the protection end of it. Erica, I'm just curious, being down there on the floor, have you actually spotted any of the Secret Service members today? Are they kind of doing a good job of keeping themselves pretty concealed?
Yeah, actually, I have seen them. I'm looking at a couple of them right now. They have the signature Men in Black look going on right now, the earpieces and the sunglasses. But they're friendly at the moment. But just in case anybody decides to throw a shoe at a delegate, I think they'll be on top of it, and I think they're going to do a good job of keeping people safe down here.
All right, that's great. I'm glad our North Penn student body is very well protected, and especially our candidates and possible front runners for today. How are things going down there with the different caucuses? Do they seem to be starting to discuss within themselves or with each other? Or are they really kind of just staying separated at this moment in time?
Right now, everyone's kind of filing back in, and the music's playing really loud, so there's not much discussion going on in between the different caucuses at this point. So I think everyone's just kind of filing back in. They're getting ready to go, but at this point, there doesn't look to be too much discussion going on between the different states.
All right, well, that sounds good. It sounds reasonable for how long the caucuses have been discussing. They probably have kind of polished their ideas and have gotten things kind of concrete within themselves. Kind of focusing on the environment, since we haven't really touched on that yet, as we've been discussing possible planks and different discussions for the day. The debate over CO2 emissions, how do you think that's going to sit with the students, possibly not knowing how that works, or just ourselves releasing it into the air with driving and different aspects like that?
I think as the millennial generation and also the party, I think we are much more aware of the footprint we're leaving now. I think we see it more, and I think if you look at the activist groups now that are trying to take a stand against what's happening to the world and our environment, I think it's getting headed a lot more by young people. So I think that is something that it's on the docket, and it's something that the Millennial Party supports now, and I think that's another thing that will continue to be supported by the Millennial Party. I don't think that will be changing, because millennials as a generation are trying to do more to protect the environment. You know, recycling measures have been kicked up, you know, in our lifetime. So I think we are the generation that's trying to do something about this, and I think that we will do something here today about it.
It's very reassuring that you have a confidence in our young people today, that they are really knowledgeable about what's going on. It makes all of us feel a little bit better that they're really educated and informed, and it'll really help lead to better discussions and everybody really knowing what they're talking about. Although we had already touched on immigration earlier, the Millennial Party in their plank actually seems to support setting a yearly limit for immigrants that are going to enter the U.S. How do you think this is going to sit with the diversity of North Penn? Do you think that they're going to stick with this, or that it will possibly change?
I think being a school up north, we don't see the immigration problems as much as we do, as much as people down, you know, along border states may. But I think we understand, as young people, I think we understand what people are fleeing, in countries like Mexico and some of the Central American countries. So I think we understand how, why the people are fleeing, what they're doing. So I think it's understandable, and I think immigration reform will be supported. Now, will it be immigration reform to keep people immigrants out of the country, or will it be immigration reform to try and get more people in legally? I think that remains to be seen. But I think it's an issue that that the students will have to would have had to look up more, because it's not something that directs us directly as students here in Pennsylvania, but if we were students, say in Arizona, it would definitely be a lot more of a hot topic that hits a lot closer to home.
All right, thanks, Eric. I'm glad that you can see what is a little bit more of in focus for the students today and what they are possibly going to be focusing on. We're really having a productive day so far. Everything's going very well. With the topic of terrorism kind of possibly playing into that, because we have had terrorists enter into different areas into the United States at times. Do you think that the students are going to realize the importance of keeping America safe, or do you think that they might not, considering it's kind of it hasn't happened to us as of recently, so they might not be as concerned with it, or do you think they're really going to take it into serious discussion considering the recent events that have happened?
I think considering recent events, it is something that will be talked about, and I think people will be looking to try and keep ourselves safe. You never know when it could be you, that could be the one on the train when something happens, or in a building when something happens. So I think it's something that people want to stay safe, but also I don't think that there's overreach now in Congress. People trying to go too hard to try and keep us safe. But if we I think it's something that will get supported by the candidates here today.
All right, thanks, Eric. You have a great insight down there on the floor. I'm glad that you can kind of see how the day is going and things like that. Do you think with the current events and things that have been going on, again, in today's society, that police brutality will really strike a chord with a lot of the students, considering that very well could happen to anyone at any given time?
I think it will, yes. If you look at a lot of the people who are going through the problems with the police, I think it's young people. It's a lot of the people who've been killed in police custody and in riots and stuff. It is people of our age. It's the millennial generation. So I think it is something that will definitely strike a chord and will definitely hit home for students here at North Penn.
Great. I'm glad that you can see the different topics that will really be in focus today. We're going to throw it down to the podium at this point so that we can really get an idea of what's going down there in the convention.
You can make a statement in support of the plank as it's written in your packet. You can make a statement opposing the plank as it's written in your packet. I was talking to a student who was physically offended by my plank on China. I did that on purpose. I wanted you to be upset. I wanted you to step up and say, that's wrong, we shouldn't do that. So this is your chance. All right? We are going to go through as many issues as we can. I'm going to take the first issue, and then the students will lead you through the rest of them. The first issue was specifically chosen for a friend of mine in the Social Studies department. Where's Mr. Henry? Mr. Henry gets physically ill at this topic. So if you go to your packet, it is under economic policy number 2. We're looking at the minimum wage. So we got a little visual up here for you. I got a raise. I got a raise. I got fired so they could afford their raise. The question, and here's another visual for you. You can see the various minimum wages as decided by states across the country. If a state is in blue, it is the federal minimum wage. So what's the minimum wage in Pennsylvania? All right. So the question for this plank, should the U.S. government increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour? All right. That's what I want to hear. Here's the way it works. Down here in front of me, from my right to my left, microphone 1, microphone 2, microphone 3. Across the back from my right to left, microphone 4, microphone 5, microphone 6. If you have an interest in this issue, if you have something you want to say, supporting it or against it, what I want you to do is step up to a microphone. As soon as I see somebody at a microphone, I will recognize that microphone. Remember, you can say support, you can say oppose, you can recommend an amendment if you don't like 15. Maybe you want to go to $20 an hour. So it is open to the floor. Microphone 3.
The process of automation is already
All right,
well.
hold on a second. I know it's difficult with 1,000 students, but you need to be respectful so that everyone can hear what they're saying. So let's keep the murmuring to a minimum. Listen to your colleagues. If you agree, that's great. If you disagree, get to a microphone.
The process of innovation, of automation in this country is already well underway. That we already have robots who can make coffee, who can do all these things. If you raise the minimum wage, you're going to make the employees less cost-effective, and you're going to have them replaced with touchscreens like at Wawa. You'll lose jobs that way, and people who could only get a starvation wage now will be unable to get any wage.
All right, microphone 2.
All right, that was good. I like that.
That's one put up.
I'm gonna be talking a lot today, especially about marijuana, but
We're not doing marijuana right now.
all right. All right, we'll get there, Anyways, if you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, then that's gonna take away the incentive to wanna go to college. I mean, if I know I could go to college and be $60,000 in debt, or I could go to McDonald's and flip burgers for $15, then I'm gonna go do that. So I think that's bad, but I mean, I think right now the states change them and they raise them by different state living costs and all that stuff, and every state differs and they need to do it by states. It's not the federal government's job to do that.
Okay, microphone 1.
All right, that was good. Minimum wage was invented just to protect like little Jimmy from reaching into the meat grinder for a nickel a day. So I don't really see the purpose in making it so that somebody can absolutely like live off of it. It's just so that you can barely get by. Like it's not so that somebody can have a career flipping burgers. So I don't think they should raise it.
Okay, microphone 4.
I'd like to agree with the man from over there where states should be in charge of regulating the minimum wage. However, there should be a federal standard of $10.10 an hour, because as of right now, the $7.25 that minimum wage is, it is literally impossible to live on $7.25. So my delegation of California, right back there, we support a $10.10 minimum wage increase so that you can live on minimum wage, especially if that is your only choice. If you are in that hole, you should still be able to live some sort of life.
Okay, number 5.
Something to keep in mind is that minimum wage is supposed to support a family of 3, and $7.25 an hour doesn't do that. And the delegation of New York would like to amend that minimum wage be dependent on what kind of person, like if they're a teenager or if they are supporting a family, that it be $9 or $10 for a teenager, but more towards $15 for families.
All right, number 6.
The state of Maine would like to offer an amendment in adding the federal minimum wage to $9.50 an hour, but also implementing a federal maximum wage of $12.50 an hour, giving every state the ability to add or to rather choose what the minimum wage should be, instead of having a necessarily federal fixed income amount for minimum wage.
All right, can you emphasize for me again, what is your amendment? What are you trying to suggest?
Mandatory minimum wage of $9.50 an hour. Maximum minimum wage of $12.50 an hour, allowing every state to choose any number in between. Because different states, such as the northeastern states, offer, their main imports or their main, the things that they create most are jobs in fishing, jobs in working in stores, working with fish, and those obviously are different than the jobs you find out on the West Coast or jobs you'd find in the middle states. Each job should be paid differently. So I think they should be able to choose from those variety of numbers in paying for minimum wage.
We'll hold off on the amendment for now. I want to hear some more talk, and we'll come back to it. Number
Okay.
3.
First, in the category of different wages for teenagers and adults in terms of minimum wage, that means no adults would be hired. Could you do me a favor? If you make minimum wage at any job, could you raise your hand right now? Yes, you are the exact people who are supposed to be making minimum wage. Adults are not supposed to be, well, adults can make minimum wage. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But these jobs that make minimum wage are just supposed to be, well, easy sort of jobs that you do every now and again. They're not supposed to be raising a family on. And if we raise the minimum wage in a significant amount, like $2 was the lowest raise I heard, then it would destroy small businesses. Humans take up 33% of the costs for businesses on average. If we like a 25% increase on that would just destroy small businesses, and that would increase the wage gap by destroying so many jobs in America. I think it's the wrong decision.
Number 2.
Not true. That's not true.
Okay, in response to the last point, in states that have raised the minimum wage above federally mandated levels, small businesses are actually doing better on average because as people have more money that they make on these minimum wage jobs, they can then in turn spend more money, which leads to the growth of small businesses. Also, I would disagree with the point made by someone else that there should be minimum wage for minors and adults because it makes it difficult for businesses to hire adults. It makes it more profitable to hire children, which leads to less employment among adults.
Okay, thank you. Number 1.
This is also to back David's point, as he mentioned, that when we raise the minimum wage in Maryland and in Washington State and in these states, he's right, small businesses actually thrived. They were not destroyed. And it's not just you immediately increase the wage and the businesses are just forced to pay it. What people did in Maryland is that they gave small businesses money after they raised the minimum wage, so the businesses are able to pay those salaries, and then once that program got going, then the government stopped paying small businesses money to pay salaries, and the businesses were able to pay the employees' salaries at the minimum wage easily, without a problem, and small businesses, once again, thrived under a higher minimum wage, not suffered.
I know we'd all like to think like good people and think, hey, people need money. However, a big business will look at this and think, I don't care what you need. It's time to make money. And if that's what a business is going to do, unemployment will skyrocket. They're going to fire people they don't need because they want money. We know that. We know businesses make money. That's what they do. And to do that, if minimum wage goes up, practically does double, they're going to fire some people that they don't need, and unemployment is a lot more of a problem than some people just shy of what they would really like to live off of.
All right, thank you. Microphone 5.
Minimum wage is set for teenagers with their first few jobs. It's not set for someone who's set for making a family. It's supposed to be a low number, and setting it at $15 an hour, it's giving teens so much money that teens are already saving money for drugs and things, and giving them $15 per hour would be even more money for them to buy drugs, and that'd be even worse.
All right, folks. Hey, this is the respect piece. You don't have to agree with what you hear, but you have to listen.
So, buying drugs, and then that's so much money that's not going towards college, and since they're already getting paid so much money, they don't need to go to college.
Thank you. Number 6.
So, one of the main arguments against minimum wage at $15 per hour is that it would cause massive inflation. And in general, that's true, but we've had inflation without raising the minimum wage, and so states like Florida actually do, every year they have a new calculation of what the minimum wage should be and slowly raise it. So it should be kind of a slow raise to $15 per hour to not cause massive inflation.
All right, thank you. Number 3.
If you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, companies will replace the workers with machines, which will just increase the unemployability, which is one of the things we already worry about as teenagers who are leaving high school and going off to college and getting a job. So with unemployability just rising, then it would also increase the inflation, and we would just go back into the Great Depression.
Okay. Number 2.
I do disagree that minimum wage is only for teenagers, as not if everyone can afford to go to college and because of how expensive it is, so they have to have a minimum wage job. And also immigrants, because they don't have the qualifications that U.S. citizens do. They have to take the jobs that are offered to them, and they deserve to be able to live on the money that they make in these jobs. So I don't think it should be raised to exactly $15 an hour, but it definitely should be raised.
All right. Number 1.
I propose that we add that the inflation rate or the minimum wage rate is adjusted over time with inflation as time goes on, so that we don't have to go through this every few years, because the economy naturally will, change as time goes on. So if we adjust it, it'll be less of a problem in the future.
All right, now procedurally, first off, outstanding. This was a great start. All those people that say millennials don't have an opinion, millennials don't care, you just showed me you cared about one thing. We allotted 15 minutes per plank. Does anyone want to move from the floor that we extend the time an additional 5 minutes? Yeah. Do I have a second? All right. Microphone 4.
So that's loud. So I'm curious about how many people are speaking against minimum wage are trying to live with parents who get minimum wage and have to deal with my mom trying to work like 3 jobs just so we can have food in the house. Because people earning minimum wage, again, aren't just teenagers. There's adults who have I have a family of 5, and my mom, she has to work like 2-3 jobs and live off of tips just to get by on the bare minimum. It's hard, it's difficult.
Thank you. Number 5.
Well, I looked up the intent of the minimum wage, why it was created, and it says here the purpose of the minimum wage was to stabilize the post-depression economy and protect the workers in the labor force. And here's the interesting part. The minimum wage was designed to create a minimum standard of living to protect the health and well-being of employees. So if we're going by that, $7.25 in the modern economy does not work. It does not protect health. You can't stabilize a family with that. And yeah, there's a lot of kids that do work minimum wage, but 1, that's not why it was set up. And 2, I believe a statistic I read the other day said that the majority of people on minimum wage are over 18. So I don't know how much to raise it. I'm not saying it's 15. I believe adjusted with inflation, it would be between $9 and $10, but I think $7.25 isn't feasible in the modern economy.
All right, thank you. Number 6.
All right. I don't think we should raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour because, thank you. Because at a minimum wage, more kids my age will be, they'll want to do better and get a higher paying job. I get $13 an hour, so I'm chilling, but I work hard for my job, and I'm at that place where I want to be right now that most other high schools aren't. So keep the minimum wage at a lower rate, and other people who want to do better.
All right, thank you. Number 3.
I think we should raise the minimum wage because our minimum wage has stayed at $7.25 since the 1970s, and it hasn't increased with inflation. So with the inflation that we have now, the money that minimum wage people make isn't enough.
Thank you. Number 2.
I would just like to present a statistic from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics.
The percentage of those working at or below minimum wage that are 16 to 19 years old is only 30%.
How many?
Is only 30%.
Okay. Thank you. Number one.
All right, here's what I have to say about minimum wage. I think you should be paid based on how good you work. It shouldn't be like a minimum that everyone should make, because there's some people that like don't do anything at their job, but then there's other people who like work hard. So then, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Number four.
I feel like that minimum wage, college ain't for everybody. So if college ain't for everybody, minimum wage jobs is all everyone got. So if you raise it, dang, I lost what I was gonna say. But if you raise it to 15, people can afford to live. Like people working 2 jobs at my job, and they still living with their parents. So it's like, and they older, so like if they still living with their parents and working 2 jobs, like I think we should raise it up for people that can't really afford to go to college and just give everyone opportunities.
All right, number 5.
I think we should raise it because I want money and I want to succeed. I want to go to college. I want to do good for my family, so I think we should raise it. Like that's what I mean. Like I'm not trying to be living like selling crack on the street or nothing like that when I get older. I want to be working in a business, not on McDonald's for the rest of my life, and having a side job trapping. But like, you know what I mean?
All right, thank you. Number 6.
All right.
Number 6.
You know, I believe we should raise minimum wage because, according to the Congregational Budget Office, raising the minimum wage would be 2 million people will be lifted out of poverty. But, also raising it 500,000 will be laid off. But if you really think about it, 2 million people coming out of poverty, getting paid more is helping their family. You know, the 500,000 that got laid off, they might have money that they can depend on.
All right, thank you. We got time for one more.
So, again, I would like to raise minimum wage, but I think what would be a good idea too would be to add in things that you have to get a raise for. Like if you're a single mother, you shouldn't be paid the same as a teenager that can live with their parents, but you should also get like a bonus just so that you can feed your kids, like live with your family and everything. So.
Okay. Now you already.
No, please, just one more thing.
We got to shut it down. Unfortunately, we have time limits, so we can cover as many as we can. Now what I'd like to do, does anyone want to call this issue to a vote? Do I have a second? All right, we're going to vote first on the plank as it's in your packet. All in favor of raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. All right, now we're going to address the amendment offered by the gentleman at number 6. And the amendment was to raise the minimum wage to a minimum and maximum option for each state to decide. So it's an example of federalism. Each state would get to decide what it's going to be, and you saw that on the map up above. So the minimum would be $9.50 an hour, the maximum would be $12.50 an hour, and states would be allowed to decide within that range where they want to go. All in favor of $9.50 to $12.50 an hour, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. What do you think? Let's do it again. One more time. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. It is passed. Well done, folks. All right, now we're going to move on to issue number 2. It is the first issue in foreign policy. It's terrorism and national defense. Aaron?
right, so it looks like we had a pretty heated discussion over raising the minimum wage, and that was a great proposal by one of the caucuses, delegation of the caucuses actually, with the 950 and 1250. Eric, how happy do you think the caucuses are with that decision?
Yeah, down here, it seemed to be a split decision when they were debating on the floor. You know, people who were in support, people who were against. There seemed to be a little bit more for, and actually, when we put it to a vote and when we had the amendment, there was a large amount of support for it. So I think it was a good compromise for both sides.
All right, I'm glad that they really could come together. It seems like people are really sharing their opinions, and we've seen a lot of passion already so far. What do you think we have to look forward to now with this next plank?
I think it's going to be one of the most highly contested planks all day. You know, being such a big issue after all the problems we've had with terrorism. So I think it's something that will also probably be extended just like the one before it was.
All right, well, I'm really interested to see how this discussion is going to turn out and what we will actually end up voting for as the Millennial Party. But now we're going to throw it back down to the podium as our discussion begins.
Claim responsibility of suicide bombing that killed 43 people in Beirut and its most ambitious attack on the West that killed 130 people in Paris. As if the attacks weren't enough to strike fear in America, just a few weeks later in San Bernardino, California, 2 affiliates of ISIS carried out a terrorist attack that killed 14 people and left 22 injured. And it was the deadliest attack on U.S. soil since September 11. Today, ISIS is the biggest foreign threat to the United States and its allies. So how does the Millennial Party plan to defeat ISIS? All right, microphone 3.
Hello from Texas. In regards to terrorism being a worldwide issue, I believe that if we need to get involved in the Middle East, we should have our European allies there to help us as well. Being that this is a worldwide issue, it can no longer be America's fight.
Mike 1.
Well, the idea of terrorism, once again, it's an idea. And you can't kill an idea with a bomb. It doesn't work. So what you need to do is you need to convince these people that what they are being told are lies. When you go to Saudi Arabia or Sudan and they're setting up these madrasas and teaching them about how the West are like the Satan's den or whatever, you need to show them that these aren't lies. So what we need to do is we need to make our schools and fight how ISIS is fighting. They're not fighting only with bombs. They are fighting with schools, they are fighting with books, and that is how they are spreading their message. Now we need to spread our message via schools and via institutions to show these people that ISIS is incorrect.
I agree with what Michael Schuss just said. I would also say that if we are going to get militarily involved, we not only need to have our European allies with us, but also allies within the region. We need countries like Saudi Arabia to step up. We need Turkey to step up, countries in the region.
Mike 4.
I'd also like to commend my friend Schuss there for having the courage to do that. And I would like to reiterate, you cannot fight an idea. It's naive and irresponsible to believe that we can fight terrorism and eliminate it. It's always going to be here. The best we can do is try to limit it and educate people. Muslims are not generally violent people. One of my best friends is a Muslim, and every Muslim that I have ever known is a very, very peaceful, kind, loving person. And I'm outraged that people are convinced from birth that every person like that is a terrorist. It's appalling to me. We need to educate everyone. We need to show that we have to go beyond our borders and open our minds to new ideas.
Number 5.
All right, well, I want to agree with the young man that was there at the first one. Everything he said was completely true, and I agree with him that terrorism is just an idea. In the military, we're not here just to, just attack people because we can. Like, I'm enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. Like, that's not what we, yes, sir. That's what I'm talking about. That's not what we do. We're here we go there just to protect the people. There's just an idea that is changing their minds to make them think that we're bad people when we're not. And they know that. They're being terrorized too out there. It's not like they're just there like living it up like people in Hollywood. They have troubles too, and they know this. But we need to help them out, and they need to help us out so we can stop what we call terrorism, because it's just a dumb idea. That's what I'm saying.
Shout out to DTG.
6.
Okay, I agree with the man and Mike won earlier, but I would like to say that, like, in terms of military support for the Middle East, bombing is more like something that, see, terrorism, as he said, was just an idea. Like, anyone could be a terrorist. In their perspective, we are the terrorists. We're the one bombing them, killing innocent people. So we can fight like that. We have to think more politically, more thoughtfully, more ethically. So we need more, like, issues, like, we have to work with them. We can't just be like against them, thinking Muslims are evil.
3.
The purpose of terrorism is to spread fear, and what we're doing right now is spreading fear right back. All of these terrorist attacks, their main goal is to make the American population against Muslims, to make divisions among our country. So the last thing we can do is resort to military occupation and try to bomb things to bits, just trying to get rid of this idea, as people are saying. A much better solution would be instead economically draining these countries. Instead of, for instance, pouring troops into a place, pouring weapons, superior technology, it doesn't really stop anywhere. There's continuous hatred. History has repeated itself, and you don't fight fire with fire. We're doing that right now by instilling fear into these Middle Eastern countries. Better is that we cut off economically any sources of resources, weapons, whatever into these countries. For instance, Saudi Arabia might be one of our allies, but it's the one of the hugest sellers of weapons in an indirect way to these terrorist organizations. So what we need to do is stop that, make sure that these illegal weapon trades are restricted, eliminated. That way, nobody can fight us, and in a very peaceful manner as well.
2.
I'd like to say, first off, we have to be a little bit careful with this issue. It's not simple, and we shouldn't run with our passions on either side. It would require military intervention to stop them, but as we learn with Iraq, that's not all it requires. The region is so unstable with divisions between the Sunnis and the Shiites and the Kurds. It's an extremely unstable place. If we actually want a permanent solution, nation building is the unfortunate truth we have to face. It's going to be expensive. But if we really are resolved to stop this, if we really are resolved to destroy this evil, we need to militarily stop it and be committed to nation building. But we also should have a coalition. All nations affected, such as Europe, all the nations in that area, should be helping us in a coalition. But with the coalition, we also should not be naive. Places such as Saudi Arabia, as Tamim said, are actively funding and supporting ISIS, whether directly or indirectly, and we shouldn't necessarily rely on them for help. So my biggest point would be, let's be careful and actually examine this.
Thank you. Mike 1.
Hello. So currently, in the Middle East, we have a policy of appeasement. We're letting ISIS get away with everything. And this policy has been outlined by the Obamas and Clintons. This is something that we can't allow to continue. We need to have direct action and boots on the ground to fully confront ISIS and all other terror organizations. The best way to do this would be to have limited U.S. troops sent in and form a coalition with other Middle Eastern nations. And we should keep all options on the options on the table when we consider how we should combat ISIS. Thank you.
4.
Hi. Oh, sorry. I agree with Mike 2 and 3. I believe that overall terrorism is based with fear, and social media amplifies the voice of terrorism. And if people not necessarily learn more about terrorism, but learn more about culture around the world as a whole, people will be more informed and less racist and ignorant, and we'll stop labeling people, like we said before, as Muslims. We don't think of them as terrorists because that's just another religious group. So, 5?
So, two comments. One, Saudi Arabia has the 3rd largest military in the world, and I see a lot of tough guy talk from them, but no action. So they talk about the atrocities of ISIS and how horrible they are, and they're not doing anything about it. So that's kind of interesting. The other point I'd like to make is you can't make a effective case for American democracy by bombing the crap out of people. Usually they don't like that. It's not really going to show them the good side of what we're trying to spread. So, yeah.
All right. 6?
ISIS didn't actually take credit for the San Bernardino attacks. It was someone that was pledged allegiance to ISIS, but it wasn't like a directed attack. And I would argue that anyone can be radicalized in this way. In fact, right-wing terrorism is actually more likely to kill people. For example, the radical conservative that shot up Planned Parenthood, he killed more people and his group more on average more than Muslim terrorism. And I would also argue that the San Bernardino attacks got so much attention because they were Muslim.
Thank you. Because there's a bigger group at 6, does someone else want to come up to the mic?
I can talk.
All
right. The best way for the federal government to protect America from terrorism is to stop being a terrorist. You can't go over to other countries, like what other people have said, drop bombs and expect democracy to arise from the ashes of terror. You know what I'm saying? Terror, by definition, is inflicting terror on someone with political aims. You know what I mean? It's like if we were to go over, say we could go back to the civil rights movement when the KKK was bombing black churches. Now, if you had African countries come over to America in the name of justice and started bombing a bunch of stuff in America, how would you react if your family died in the bombings? How would you feel? That's exactly what we're doing to the kids over in the Middle East, and that's not fair. We shouldn't be doing that. We got to stop being terrorists ourselves. That's pretty much it. Peace.
Thank you. 3.
All right. So I don't think economic sanctions are necessarily the way to go because ISIS and Al-Qaeda aren't countries, they're organizations. If we can pin them down and work with other countries to use our army to defeat them, that'd be great. But until then, our options are limited. On the bright side, here's something we can do. How many of you have heard of the TSA? Good, good. The TSA is actually useless. It's this thing called security theater. It's supposed to make you feel safe, but it does nothing to actually keep you safe. One organization, I believe it was the NSA, tested the TSA by sending in 87 fake bombs, and they caught none of them. So we need to disband the TSA and put more of those funds into things that will actually stop terrorist attacks, like money into the FBI and the CIA to, to like spying and whatnot that will actually help prevent these attacks by finding information on them. That's all.
2.
I understand that this is political, but I don't want to get too political. I just want to put something out there. I'm all for armed with knowledge. Knowledge is power, I know that. But I just want to put a small idea out there. To say that terrorism is just an idea might be a little bit too far because things are just an idea until people start dying. That's all I wanted to say.
1.
So I just wanted to say I personally am a Muslim, and I'm really tired of all the stereotypes that people make about Muslims, and I feel that we should have more educational opportunities for people who aren't Muslims to actually learn about my beliefs and my faith, so that like people can learn that not all of us believe that terror is the only way of peace.
All right, we've heard great ideas, but now we need to work on an amendment. So what is it that you want to do? All right, I'll turn it over to Mike 4.
Hello, I'm from Illinois over there, and I think instead of using military force, I think we should like try to do it through peace, because military force will create more terrorism, and that'll just spiral into a war that we'll have to get into. And so an amendment I would like to propose is, like, we should create some kind of like a counterterrorism group, like for everybody, not just Muslim countries, for everybody of every religion to get into and like try to combat terrorism without violence. Thank you.
All right. We've run out of time. All in favor of continuing the discussion for 5 more minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so now we need to call in for a vote. All right, from what I've collected, it's not the place, a lot of people agreed on is that it's not the place for U.S. to bomb terrorists in the Middle East, and that we should build coalitions inside of the Middle East across the world, and we should stop financial aid to Saudi Arabia. So, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Nay. Nay, all right.
All right. The moment every adult in the building has been dreading. The national debt. The third issue that we're going to talk about is number 2 under social policy issues in your.
All right, it looks like we just had a very interesting discussion on ISIS, and there's a lot of different passions out there on the floor, and a lot of people seem to kind of agree with each other. Eric, how did you think the discussion went between the caucuses?
Yeah, down here, it seemed we were almost close to unanimity on peace. There was a lot of passion, as we expected, but it seemed that a lot of people from the millennial generation in the party decided that it was time. We've spent time and time again in 93, 2003, 91, 2003. We've gone in, we've tried to do things in the Middle East and intervene, and it's just caused more people to die. And it looks like now what they're trying to do is go in peacefully and try and shut down the ideas without military intervention. There were some counterpoints to it. Some people who thought that there is only way. The only way is to get rid of it and to oust it. But it seemed like a lot more people were close to thinking that peace was the way to go.
Yeah, you're right. It really seemed like people were kind of embracing diversity and just all coming together kind of towards one common goal of peace. People really just don't want to see any more war, any more people getting hurt. We're like pretty much done with that. So we're just going to throw it down to the podium to start our next discussion.
Classification as heroin. According to the DEA, Schedule I drugs, substances, or chemicals are defined as drugs with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Schedule I drugs are the most dangerous drugs of all the drug schedules, with potentially severe psychological or physical dependence. However, some states have ruled that marijuana can be legal when prescribed by a doctor for medical reasons. States such as Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, and the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., have even gone so far as to legalize marijuana completely. However, as the Millennial Party, we believe that drugs are deleterious to an individual's health and well-being. And because it is a gateway drug, marijuana should not be legal to possess or use, even for medical purposes. All right. Well, I have a feeling you guys do not agree with that, so I'd like, microphone 3.
So, as a drug, marijuana has been proven to be less detrimental to your health than alcohol, which is perfectly legal. And if people in the privacy of their own home and are not harming anyone else want to get stoned, who are we to tell them that they do not have the freedom to do so?
Number 2.
All right, I have a long thing on this. My bad. All right, so
marijuana has been tested. It has been, all these different tests have been run on it to see all the deleterious effects of it. There are none. There's no long-lasting effects that are bad for your health. And they're just saying that the tests are inconclusive right now because they can't find anything wrong with it. Here's something that's nothing is wrong with it, that would make the government millions of dollars, that already in Colorado has made them millions of dollars, that they had to take out of their banks because they had too much money and they had to put it back into the education system. If we legalize marijuana, we will make money and we will stop putting people away in jail for a nonviolent crime. I know people who are in jail for marijuana possession. That makes no sense. Why would you want them to be in jail, pay your money to hide their food, and to keep them in a cell for something that doesn't harm anyone? It's a stress reliever, and it's safe, and it should be legal.
Microphone 1.
I believe that marijuana is not a gateway drug because I'm not shooting heroin. And to be honest, tobacco companies make billions of dollars a year from people buying, cigarettes, and that's completely fine. And we all know what tobacco does to you. You have people that get cancer, people that die from tobacco, from smoking, and alcohol, which most of us people, students in high school, use at parties, and that's legal for people at 21 to buy, and that still could kill you. So no one died from weed. Weed is chilling, it's safe. Legalize marijuana.
Number 4.
Okay, this man right there who was just speaking, go you. I commend you on that for saying that. And yes, I would agree, alcohol is very, very dangerous. Thousands of people die from using alcohol every year. The number of deaths from marijuana use is 0. So is it really that dangerous? Also, yes, it is not a gateway drug. And as the man who was speaking first said, states like Oregon have started, when they legalized marijuana, they used the tax dollars and money from the sale of marijuana to fund schools and roads and to rebuild infrastructure. I'm sure that everyone here knows how terrible our roads and bridges are, how falling apart everything is. If we can legalize marijuana and use the profits from it to make every school as great as this one could be, make everyone be at least high school educated. We could send people to college, possibly with it. We need to legalize it, we need to tax it, we need to regulate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5.
I think marijuana should be legalized, but should be heavily taxed as cigarettes are, since they're sort of the same thing, except for marijuana gets you high. And just the amount of taxes the government would get from that would have such a huge boost on the economy, and it would get so many people out of jail, because just imagine how many people are arrested for weed possession. And I hate to bring race into this, but it would just give the police less of an excuse for all this aggression against black people.
Number 6.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I got something to propose up here. I'm speaking on behalf of 6 states: Washington, Montana, Rhode Island, Mississippi, Delaware, and last but not least, South Dakota. Together, we are the Power 6. I move that we strike to classify marijuana as a legal substance, and this motion be amended by the following language. To reduce the national debt, marijuana be legal at the age of 21 for medical and recreational use, and be taxed at the rate of 20%. That's all I have to say.
Number 3.
I'm gonna say what's already been said with another point to it. When it comes to making marijuana legal, when you have tobacco and alcohol, which is legal, and it's causing many deaths. I mean, heck, even if you saw the statistic up there, more people even die of peanuts. 0 for marijuana. So why make that illegal when you have those substances that are legal? And alongside with that, you're putting marijuana as a crime that is equated to rape, murder, robbery, when all it is just an independent lifestyle choice. So you're arresting many people for that, and that's not fair whatsoever.
them peanuts. All right, number 2.
I think marijuana should definitely be decriminalized, but not just this. I think all drug users and addicts, they should not be kept in jail, and all of the money that is gone to incarcerating them should go to getting them into rehab so they can be better, productive members of society instead of just rotting in prison, which is just costing money to the U.S. To just incarcerate them. So they should be put into rehab so they can get better and get jobs and help the society as a whole.
All right, number 1.
Even if you weren't for recreational marijuana, it's very important that we understand that it has medical benefits. How can the government say that it doesn't have medical benefits when it has a patent on cannabis as neuroprotective and it has antioxidant properties, but then put it into a Schedule 1 category, which Schedule 1 says that it has no medical benefits and that it has a high potential for abuse when it has a lower rate of addiction than alcohol, and it doesn't have as much of the bad effects on your health from withdrawal. So I don't understand how the government can say with a straight face to us that it doesn't have medical benefits when it clearly does, and they say so themselves. So I'm very for medical marijuana.
All right, so I have a question for you guys. So since we're going to be legalizing marijuana, wouldn't there also be edibles? And if so, what would stop a kid from picking up a brownie only to find that they just consumed marijuana? Number 4.
Personally, I think if marijuana is as bad as the government says it is, I think like half the people in the school would probably be dead. So I think it's like, okay.
All right, number 5.
A lot of what I was going to say was already said by many other people, but I feel that everybody is also overlooking the medical advances that it has. There have been many people that have looked at it and know that marijuana holds the key to curing cancer. And I know probably every single person in this room knows someone that has had their life been affected by cancer. And when you look at like just thinking like, oh, well, if you legalize it, it'll be easier to get. Like, no one is going to look and go, oh, I want to smoke pot, and then go, oh, wait, never mind because it's illegal. Just as if you look at like bath salt, no, that's legal to like, of course it's not legal for like a drug purpose, but people use it as that, and no one's gonna go, oh, well, since it's legal, I'm gonna do it.
We're running out of time right now, so. I actually have another question for you guys. If we legalize it, who would sell it? Would it be the government, like wine and spirits for alcohol, or would it be private, like tobacco? Number 6.
Well, instead of addressing the question you just asked, I'd like to go back to the previous question with edibles. People in the school, we're 16, 17, and 18 years old. We're not children, as the government seems to think that we are. There have been obvious accidents with alcohol. We've all seen stupid pictures on the internet with parents giving their children alcohol. If you legalize it, that's going to happen. You're going to get children eating this stuff. It's not something that you can control. There are 88,000 deaths per year by alcohol. That's 2.5 million lost years of life countrywide, and this is only in the United States. Marijuana has killed nobody. A national tax on marijuana would pay for not only our tuition, but also for us to be able to advance our infrastructure, because we all know it's crumbling. Our schools could be better, and so could our infrastructure. Our roads could be fixed, and so could our bridges. We could have a great country if this stupid debate just ended with the legalization of something that's less dangerous than any drug in this country.
3, do you want to try to answer my previous question?
Wait, what was it?
Who should sell it, private industry or government?
Personally, if the government sells it, I feel like it's gonna be more expensive. So I think everybody should sell it, but but also weed is a really good medicine with no side effects, so that's why it should be legal.
All right, it's time to make an amendment.
This is the amendment that was proposed by the gang of 6 in the corner.
Okay.
So, can you read my writing?
To read.
It's getting repetitive. I think you made your point. Now get the vote on it.
All right, so the amendment is that we would, by legalizing marijuana, we would reduce the national debt. People ages 21 or older could have it. The tax sales would be at a rate of 20%. So all in favor say aye. And all opposed say nay. All right, looks like aye wins.
All right. I realize that was an issue that you all had opinions about.
Well, it looked like the floor there had overwhelming support for the legalization of marijuana, and we really saw some students getting up there. Although we saw a lot of passion, we also saw some good facts. Eric, could you kind of recap what we saw with this plank?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think we had complete and total unanimity here of everyone being in support of the legalization of it. You know, people, the passion because, you know, there are so many, there's nothing necessarily bad about it, and there's also a lot of good that can be done, you know, rebuilding infrastructure and turning profit on it. So no surprise here. I think that there was almost entire unanimity on voting for it.
And it was really great to hear the students try to use it for helping the economy and helping ourselves rather than just for selfish or like recreational use. So we're going to throw it back to the podium now to start our next millennial discussion.
That college is affordable for anyone. The Millennial Party proposes that we expand federal grants to allow students to go to college. Microphone 1.
All right, well, I don't think, as they said, college is not for everyone. So, also, it's very expensive, and we need to figure out a way to fund it, too. So and obviously, with all our spending, we can obviously find a way to fund college. So, but then again, you also have kids, as what we just experienced, that kids are doing drugs now. So why should kids doing drugs take away college money from kids who aren't doing drugs? So I think it should be based solely on GPA. If you have a certain GPA, but if you do drugs, why you should not be why go to college? You make a choice to do something that hurts you. Why should the government waste their college tuition? Why should the government waste their college tuition on students being irresponsible and doing drugs and alcohol as teenagers? The government should not have to send you to life.
Microphone number 4.
Okay, Shush, I'm gonna have to just disagree with you right now. While I do agree with you on the point that college is not for everyone, instead of those who are not fit for the classic university, you could do it, you should, not could, should, do it. Do college somewhat like how Germany does, where at around high school age, you take some sort of test and it decides whether you're bound for some sort of trade school, like, you know, mechanic, welding, all those good things, or, you know, you go to university, which is government funded and it's free to all who qualify. Now, there's no reason why we cannot make college free. We just don't want to. Private interests control our government and our Congress. And the only reason that we haven't done that yet is because we're too busy caught up trying to satisfy their needs and their desires, just forget about them. Leave them out to dry. What we need to do in this world where a college education is required is we need to make it easier to go to college, and we need to find some way to make it affordable so that everyone who wants to can.
Okay, microphone 5.
In the American education system, there is just such a dislike of learning from how schools are set up. And I think that if, like, a lot of kids don't want to go to college because they don't want to deal with the debt, and they think it's just be easier to get a minimum wage job. If college was a lot cheaper or free, then a lot more kids would be going to college. Like, for instance, in France, I think it was for medical school, the American equivalent was $450. And that includes their textbooks and room and board. Imagine if it was like that in America. Imagine how many more people would be getting their masters and their doctorates. Now, on the topic of how to pay for it, well, if we legalize marijuana and tax the hell out of that, it would be a lot easier to pay for it. Also, if we tax big corporations, we would have a lot more money into the economy and to pay for college.
Okay, microphone 6.
I'd like to address something that number 1 said real quick. My cousin smokes marijuana more than anybody that I know. She's currently getting her master's degree at an art school right now. GPA has nothing to do with somebody's ability to get something done, especially in regards to education. The rich people in our government think that they can control the people that don't make any money, tax the rich in this country, tax corporations, tax on marijuana, make that illegal. This specific platform regards and is encompassing most of our problems at the moment. They cannot expect, they blame us for being stupid. They say the millennials are stupid, they're always on their phones. What do they expect us to do when people that are working off of minimum wage cannot go to college to get an education like they want us to? The people in the government are preventing us from getting an education, and there are obvious ways to fix this. The only problem is they don't want to because they grew up rich.
Okay, microphone number 3.
Studies have been done that with spending as it currently is in America, if you took all the money away from the 1% right now, you would not be able to run the country for a year. So how do you expect for us to be able to pay for free college education for everyone?
Microphone 2.
I don't agree that college should be free, but it should definitely be more affordable. I mean, $50,000 a year to go to college is absolutely ridiculous because not like 50% of the families in America don't even make that much money in a year. I mean, $200,000 for 4 years to get a bachelor's, that's just not it. It's not reasonable. Nobody can afford that. College shouldn't be just for the rich. I mean, the youth of America should be able to afford college, and an educated youth in America, I mean, you need education to further the country, and if you don't have education, then the country is not going to prosper.
Okay. So I want to ask you, how do you think that college should be amended to make it easier for people to attend, since that seems to be the general consensus? Microphone 1.
All right. If we sold weed, we'd have more money, and like the people paying the taxes on it and stuff, the government could use some of that for the college. And also, if you think about it, people can write entire like rap songs that rhyme and stuff high on weed. So why can't somebody write a critical paper on it?
Okay. Microphone number 4.
So going back to the guy at number 6, he never said anything about people smoking marijuana. He said people wasting money on drugs and being able to just waste their money and not be accountable for, oh, I don't have enough money to pay for schooling. Also, I believe that if you come from a family that can fully afford college without like having to do loans, you shouldn't need any financial aid, even free tuition, because you can afford it fully. And so, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Number 5.
There's 2 problems with the way that financial aid and college costs are. The first issue is that financial aid is given out on a need base, which does work for many people that can't afford it. But for people like myself in the middle class, my brother got into Lehigh University, which is a very good school, and was offered $2,000 for a $70,000 tuition. That was it. So if you're going to pay for school, financial aid needs to be appropriate for all schools or for all middle class people, not just people that need the money, where everyone needs the money. It's not the people that just supposedly need it.
Okay.
Then the other issue is that most college costs are $70,000, or even Penn State is $35,000. A local school or a local Philadelphia school dropped its tuition from $30,000 to about, I believe, $40,000, and it's doing fine. So why are all schools not doing this?
Okay.
Why are they all?
Microphone number 6.
Let me just get some real numbers here. Bernie Sanders actually put out a plan for free college education, which would cost $750 billion over 10 years. And to pay for this, he wanted to put a 0.5% fee on stock trades. This is on Wall Street, by the way. 0.1% fee on bonds and a 0.005% fee on derivatives. That would leave 99.995% left on that, by the way. And that would raise up to $300 billion a year, not only paying for the college education over the 10 years, but having stuff left over.
Okay. Microphone number 3.
Again, some numbers. In 1970, the average annual tuition for college was $2,500. The minimum wage in 1970 was $1.45 per hour. If you wanted to work and pay for college in 1970, you needed to work 5 hours a day for the whole school year. The average annual tuition for college in 2015 was $40,000 per year. The minimum wage has since increased to $7.45 per hour. If you wanted to pay for college by working in 2015, you needed to work 17 hours a day. This is just not feasible. Our generation isn't lazy. We're looking forward. We want education, but we just haven't been given the opportunities. The government doesn't have to make college free for everyone, but if education is supposed to be the greatest equalizer, we need to make education more accessible.
Okay. Microphone number 2.
Okay, so like a personal statistic is that I'm in a family of 4 kids and we don't have any money for any of we don't have college funds or whatever. So my sister went to undergrad and she did grad school and she's now a lawyer. And if she pays the minimum payment on her college tuition loan, she'll be paying it off for 208 years. So it's very unfeasible, but the problem is that everyone's saying that college needs to be affordable, but really it's a personal decision. If you decide that you don't want to join the workforce or do something else outside of high school, and you do decide to go to college, you do have the option to apply to schools that aren't $45,000 a year, as many of them are. If you can't afford college and you want to be sensible about your money, try going to a community college for 2 years or applying to a local school that you can afford, rather than taking on these crazy amounts of debts and then blaming the government for not being able to pay it off when you knew going into it that maybe you wouldn't be able to pay for it. So that's just my 2 cents.
Okay. We're going to turn to a vote now. Good. So, all those who believe that we should have publicly funded free college for anyone who wants to go, say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Nay. Okay. Nays seem to have it. Those who are in favor of expanding federal grants so that college can be more affordable, say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Nay. Okay, ayes have that one. Thank you.
Well, as it seems, the Millennial Party isn't exactly looking just for free college. They're just looking for an expansion of grants and just better affordability. Eric, did you feel like that kind of lined up with what you saw down there on the floor?
Yeah, it seemed to me as if people understood that that we are already $19 trillion in debt, and if we were to make college completely free, that it would plunge us deeper into debt. But they do also understand that education is important, and we need to offer more money to kids. And I think it's something that strikes a chord with us. You know, the majority of the kids in here right now are seniors, and they're looking to go off to college next year, and it's a real problem for them right now, and they understand. You know, they really get it, and it affects them. So I think it was no surprise that we saw the amount of passion that we did.
I agree. This was a very relevant topic for our age group, and the discussion really just seemed to reflect even like personal, like probably scares and things that people had to worry about going into college in these next couple years, being as we are all high school students. Do you think that people possibly are relying on the government too much for their stance on college?
I think some of the people who spoke were saying that they were, and it was on them. It was on the kids that not everything was not college isn't for everyone, and there are also community college options and cheaper higher education options. So I think there was people who were supporting that, but I think they were greatly outnumbered by the people who realized that college is very, very expensive here in the United States.
Well, I'm glad everyone could see a sensible end for this topic, but we're going to throw it back to the podium for our next discussion.
Minority races. The Equal Rights Amendment was introduced in 1923 to Congress, but it has never been ratified, and women's rights as of right now are not protected under the Constitution. The Millennial Party, therefore, supports an equal pay for equal work amendment. And now we're going to open the floor to discussion. We're going to go to mic 3 because you've been waiting.
All right. I came up here last time because Shush said something that made me really mad. So let me just say, first on this question, yeah, both people should make just as much money, no matter what gender you are. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know why we're still fighting about that. But back to what Shush said. He said that you should get into college based only on your GPA.
Excuse me, we've moved on.
I have not.
We're gonna go to mic 2. Sorry.
Not really based on whether this issue is big or not, but what specifically would the amendment do, and how would it guarantee equal pay? Would we just be saying it? What would it do?
Okay, we're gonna go to mic 1.
Well, for one, we need to make salaries public. Because the issue is having private salaries, that means there's corruption. How come the man and a woman in a business don't want to say their salaries? Because the man knows he makes more. He knows. There's corruption with the secret salaries. So one, they need to make this amendment, they need to make all salaries public. So everyone can view them, so they know when women are not getting paid equally. They know when minorities are not being paid equally with public salaries. If people can see what other people are making, and they can see which companies are corrupt and which companies are sexist and/or racist, they will not work for them. I don't believe the government needs to be involved, but they should show the salaries so everyone can know what everyone else is making to prevent corruption.
Okay, we're gonna go to mic 4.
Okay, I like Shush's idea there with public salaries because, and I know you're going to hate me for this, and this is going to probably turn into a screaming match, but the 79 cents on the dollar statistic is a narrow-minded statistic. It is based solely on life earnings. Now, as I'm sure that all of you in here know, childbirth is very, very costly, and currently in the US, we do not have paid family leave, which we, as a fully developed country, should have. So that 77 to 79 cents on the dollar, that doesn't account for the time off, the time that you were unpaid while you were having children. And I don't believe that, women should be punished for having children. However, using an unbalanced statistic like that over an entire lifetime, when you also, with that statistic, you're also comparing wages of, say, a CEO who's making, let's say, $16 million to a nurse who's making $17,500 per year. You can't compare those equally. You'd have to, for a fair statistic that is true, you need to look within the same group for jobs. You would need to compare a male nurse and a female nurse who are equally qualified, who've been working there for equal amounts of time, are exactly the same in each way. What the real wage gap is when you do that sort of statistic where you compare it job by job and compare men and women in those jobs with the same qualifications, it's actually not what it ends up being is that it's 94 cents on the dollar. And that's an important thing for people to know. It's not as bad as we say it is, but it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be 94, it should be equal. Why in the world do we not have equal pay for equal work? We need that in this developed country. So that's all I have to say.
So we're gonna move on to mic 3.
I say we avoid the issue altogether, just have family leave. Let's get gender equality to everybody. You let fathers and mothers both have family leave when they have kids, and therefore we don't have this excuse of women getting paid less at all anymore. Everyone has the leave.
Okay, we're gonna go to mic 2.
I don't think that most of you realize how much of a demand there is for women in the workforce today, and honestly, you should all stop talking about it and start doing something about it, because we all have the same opportunities in America.
Okay. We're gonna go to mic 1.
Hello. So, women and men, they should have equal salaries, but we should have better analyzing of the wages. Like, that statistic up there might be true, but like, it could be like, I don't know, a woman who is a housemaid versus Donald Trump, you know, small in $1 million. He's got tons of money. She got not a lot of money. What he said, I don't know his name, sorry. What you, Jason? Public salaries, no, because some people got jobs, they don't want people to know what they're doing. And also, like, it's just, like, if you leave a job and you go to a next job, and they look at your salary and, like, how you ask about it, like, if you ask for, like, a higher amount for, like, the same job, they might not accept you. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go to mic 2.
So I agree with the point that was made earlier that we need to establish paid family leave for both mothers and fathers to get rid of that excuse. There was a question posed earlier as to how this would be implemented. I propose that it would be implemented by making it easier for people to sue employers over unequal pay. So that's my point.
Okay, we're gonna go to mic 4.
What I'd like to put out here is that I think whatever we're born with, like when we're born, that shouldn't decide what we could do in life. That doesn't decide how much money we make, what we could do, what we can run for. That doesn't decide if we can run for president or if we're fit enough for president. I think both women and men should have the same equality, same rights, same privileges, and same salary for everyone in America. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go to mic 5.
So I'm going to say what other people have said here, and quite frankly, this might annoy some people, but the fact of the matter is that the gender wage gap, when it really boils down to it, is a myth. I mean, I'm not saying that statistic is not true, but louder, yeah. The 77 to 79 cents to $1 thing isn't just the thing that people are saying that, you know, men work higher jobs. It's a fact from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that men work higher jobs that have higher pay than women. I'm not saying this is just based on choice. Men choose to have higher jobs, women choose to have these jobs. Or maybe it's not exactly because of like inequality. It's just because different wages for different people. So that's why that statistic's a thing, and I don't.
Okay, we're gonna go to mic 2.
I think it's really funny that the people who keep saying the wage gap and gender equality is a myth are men, because they're guys who have never have to live with any of it. It's not a myth. Like, women don't get promoted as much as men just because of gender norms set in jobs. To say women aren't doing anything about wanting to have the same wage, that's a lie. The fact that we're talking about it now, we're doing something.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go Mike 6. Hi.
Something that we fail to realize here is there isn't just two genders. There are more than two genders. But what we're talking about is the wage gap. We don't need to argue about that. Obviously, a female CEO gets paid less than a male CEO. The amendment that you put forward is fine, but you must understand that there aren't just male and females. People that are agender, people that are any other gender besides, cisgender. You have to understand that they get treated way differently in this country than males and females. There aren't just two. And in this proposition, there's nothing to do with them, because I guarantee you, an agender person, if figured out, would automatically either get fired from a job, either in the South or the Midwest, or would get paid a significantly less amount than people that are either male or female. The female and male wage gap argument is it's overworked. We know females are paid less. This shouldn't be an argument, but we need to understand that there are more sides to the argument than just two.
Thank you. We're gonna go to Mike 3.
Hi, so I'd like to respond to two of the arguments that were previously presented. One of them was that part of the reason why the wage gap appears so large is that there are comparing, for example, a CEO to a nurse. So my question is, why are there not more women CEOs? There should be more women in higher paying jobs. So the wage gap does exist if there are less women in higher paying jobs. I think that is part of the wage gap and the problem with gender equality today. And I also would like to respond to the gentleman who spoke in number 5 saying different wages for different people. Well, I think that's just another way of saying that women should be paid less than men. I don't think that really means anything. That's like saying there should be different schools for different people to support segregation. I don't believe that's a valid argument at all.
Okay. We're gonna go to Mike 2.
The fact of the matter is that we live in a society that favors the privileged. If you are white, if you are male, if you are cisgendered, if you are heterosexual, if you are able-bodied, you have privilege over people who are not those things. And the fact of the matter is that if you are a man, especially a white man in this country, it is your duty as someone who supports equality, as you all say that you do as gender equalists, to sit down and listen to people who have less privilege than you and less opportunity in the workforce. The wage gap exists, and if you say that it doesn't, you're probably a man.
Yeah, do you want me to go around?
Do you want to call for a vote on the gender issue? Or we could table it and combine it with the LGBT issue and do them both at the same time? Or do you want to, let's keep them separate. Let's just call for both, because we're going to break the rules.
Okay, we're going to call for a vote now.
What do you want them to vote on?
The amendment we have.
These seem to be the two things that they come up with.
Well, that was already in it.
And then the paid family leave for both sexes.
Okay. So, should I do? Okay. All in favor of the equal pay for equal work amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay. Ayes have it. So now. All in favor for paid family leave for both sexes, say aye. Aye. All in favor, say nay. Okay.
Mr. Hanley, I think we should just hold off on the next platform.
Yeah, I know. We're going to break the
Okay.
Well, it looks like the Millennial Party ruled in favor for equality for both genders and also for pay for or leave for male and female. Eric, I could see things are getting a little bit tense with people who really didn't want to believe there is any kind of wage gap and people that said that they were for equality but then said otherwise. Did you see a lot of people that were kind of conflicting themselves?
Yeah, let me start off by saying that was a very feisty argument there. It was a lot of back and forth, and that was the chippiest it's gotten. But yeah, I did see that it wasn't necessarily people supporting not supporting the income equality. It was people not recognizing that there is an actual wage gap, and there is income inequality in this country. So I think it was people not realizing, the reality is that there actually is. There is actually a problem with that in the country, but that did split. That did split all of our delegates for the most part. But when it came down to the vote, there was a lot of people who, basically it was almost unanimous at the end of, people saying you should have equal pay for equal work.
Yeah, it was great to see all the caucuses come together like that, and hopefully we see that continue on as we discuss different planks, because that'll head our party into one direction towards a specific candidate as we start getting into tomorrow. But I actually want to throw things over to our very own Maddie Highvile. Maddie?
I think so far today during our simulated mock convention, it's been a great success. We've had some terrific discussions, some interesting viewpoints among our student body, and some great interviews here within the studio. Everyone is working incredibly hard to get this convention to run smooth, and it should be interesting how the end of today and tomorrow will run. Back to the desk.
Well, Eric, overall, we've kind of seen at the end of each plank, once it gets down to the voting, that actually they have pretty much all come together, and there's like an overwhelming majority towards one side rather than the other, where earlier we thought there might be more of a divide with the ayes and the nays. They've kind of all come together after hearing each other. Do you think that's going to continue on as the day goes on, or do you just think maybe emotions and tensions will cause more of a divide?
Actually, I think what we've seen so far, we've seen three vastly different topics, going from domestic to foreign, I think. So I think we've had three very good barometers to use on how the rest of the day will go. And I think it's going to go the same way. I think it's interesting that we have a lot of division during the debate, but when it comes down to it, a lot of people do agree on what needs to happen. So I think there's a large majority in here, and I think the majority is being represented, but I also think that the minority is being represented on most of the ideas, and I think they're being represented by passionate people, and I think that's what I had expected. Before we got into the platform, I said there are going to be some people who are going to be staunch supporters of things that aren't as popular, but they're going to support it. They're going to use facts to back it. So I think it's very interesting that we're seeing two different sides. When it comes down to it, a lot of people, the overwhelming majority are going for the same ideas.
I agree. It's great that after listening and discussing with each other that they can kind of come together and have a consensus about how they want to change the plank. And it's also been interesting today to see the students using different statistics to support their arguments, and actually using technology, which we have talked about is becoming such a prominent feature in our world today, and especially in like political aspects, to get new information and to just gather your knowledge base. And it's been great seeing the students pull from outside resources and presenting those as part of their arguments. Do you feel that the students that use different statistics usually had the strongest arguments, or did you feel that passion was pretty much driving the discussions?
Well, I think those things weren't necessarily mutually exclusive. I think there were some people who brought passion to the podium when they got up in front of the mic, but they were passionate about what they were saying, and they also presented facts to back themselves. So I think the people who had passion but also brought statistics to the table were the ones who got the best response, and I think swayed the decisions the most.
I agree. Over here in the studio, I think the combination has been a winning effect for the delegations and the caucuses as they've been coming together and presenting their ideas. And also something I observed as they were going on, I think it was interesting that 6 of the caucuses actually came together, whereas I thought they would pretty much stay as little separate organizations up until tomorrow. Did you happen to hear the speaker that mentioned the Big Six during their discussion?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I thought that was very interesting that we saw a coalition from those states. Things like that do actually happen over on Capitol Hill, and I thought it was interesting that it happened here. And I thought the way that they went about the motion was very professional, and I think it resonated in here. I think people really thought it was a good motion. It was backed, obviously, by those 6 states that moved for it, but the rest of the delegation seemed to be very important in support of the motion. So I thought that was interesting, and I'm keep my eye out for those 6 states in the future. As we move on here in the next the next segment, to see if they will again try and get together to get things done and support motions and try and change some of our planks.
It's great to see those types of developments out on the floor, and it's even greater that they kind of reflect the actual political world, seeing, as you said, that this actually does happen in everyday politics. And seeing these caucuses work together and have similar ideas just really kind of bring some hope for the Millennial Party as this new 2016, our mock convention goes ahead. They are kind of coming together and just agreeing and having some similarities that, although, as you mentioned, they have a lot of fiery debates and may disagree at first, at the end, after listening to each other and taking different things into consideration, they do end up coming together and having a unified stance. What do we have to look forward to as our next planks are approaching?
I think we're looking at we've gotten a couple of the big topics out of the way, but I think there's still the LGBT community argument that will be going on. You know, we've just had, I think that's an issue that's fresh with a lot of Americans, because just over the summer we had the Supreme Court ruling on gay marriage. So I think it's a hot button topic, and I think it's another one of those social topics that students at a high school age are aware of. It impacts them, it affects them, and I feel like that will be another very passionate argument. I think we have some race relations sections coming up as well, and I think that will invoke a lot of passion. So I think we're going to have a lot of heated debates moving forward, but I would expect a lot of the same from the next section.
That's great. I think we're all looking forward to see what's ahead of us for the rest of this day. I'm going to throw it to Maddie and get her opinion on the events throughout the day. Maddie?
You know, I think the opinions that we've seen today have shown that our body here at North Bend High School is very unique and diverse, and we're taking it with a very educated approach. In school, we're taught to use statistics and use analysis to back up our beliefs, and that's exactly what the students are doing out there on the podium. For those of you who are just tuning in now, we're taking place in the 2016 North Bend High School Simulated Mock Convention. We are independent, and we are trying to discuss planks and platforms about topics and candidates that we wish to elect as our president. It's a great time here at North Penn to see a lot of different students work together who may not be in class together, and it's a good time for all of us to learn more about politics in a hands-on way that we're not being talked down to by our leaders, and it's a informational time where we're creating our own opinions for the future.
Thanks, Maddie, and thank you, Eric, for both contributing to our discussion about our mock convention that's going on today. I want to thank everyone who's been watching our coverage of our 2016 mock convention. As we break, you can continue watching and filling in of what's going on at around 12:35. But for now, have fun.